Aita for refusing to let my mother-in-law hold my baby after she told my husband to get a paternity test. I, 28F, gave birth to my first child, a beautiful baby girl, 3 weeks ago. My husband, 30M, and I have been over the moon, but his mother has been causing non-stop drama. She never liked me. From the start, she made snide comments about how I trapped her son, even though we've been happily married for 4 years. When I got pregnant, she constantly joked about how the baby might not be his. I brushed it off as her usual passive-aggressive behavior, until I found out she took it way further. 2 days after I gave birth, my husband got a text from his mom saying, "You should get a DNA test." You never know these days. I was devastated when I saw it. My husband was furious and told her off, saying he had zero doubts about me and that her comment was disgusting. She tried to backtrack, saying she was just looking out for him. Now she wants to come over and meet the baby. But I told my husband that she will not be holding our daughter. If she wants to question whether my child is even her grandchild, then she doesn't get the privilege of bonding with her. My husband understands why I'm upset, but he thinks we should let her come, just once, so she doesn't play the victim with the rest of the family. Now she's crying to everyone, saying I'm keeping her granddaughter from her, and that I'm punishing her over a harmless question. Some family members think I'm being dramatic and should be the bigger person. But why should I let someone who disrespected me and my child hold her like nothing happened? Aita for refusing to let her hold my baby. Top comments. Commenter 1. For one, it wasn't a harmless question if a person was harmed by it. I wouldn't be allowing her near the child because at some stage she will gather enough genetic material to do a quiet DNA test to make sure. Nothing harmful there, dear. Let her play the victim, but the moment any family member comments, point out that she has already expressed doubt that the child is in fact her grandchild, so what's the problem? NTA. Commenter 2. I'd never keep Mrs. Smith from her granddaughter, but she doesn't believe my child is, in fact, her granddaughter. So there's no need for her to meet my daughter, is there? Update. Well, I wish I could say things got better, but MIL made sure that didn't happen. After my husband told her off, I thought she'd at least try to apologize, but instead, she doubled down. She started calling my husband, telling him I was turning him against his own mother, and that I was overreacting to a simple question. She even pulled the classic victim act, crying to the rest of the family about how I was keeping her grandbaby from her. Then, things took a ridiculous turn. I found out from ISIL that MIL was actually trying to get a DNA test done behind our backs. Apparently, she was hoping to get a strand of my baby's hair or some spit to confirm the truth. When MySale told me, I was absolutely done. I told my husband that until she apologizes, not a fake "I'm sorry you're mad" apology, but a real one, she is not welcome around me or my daughter. Thankfully, my husband backed me up 100%. He told his mother that if she can't respect his wife and child, then she doesn't deserve to be part of our lives. MIL lost it. She went full drama mode, telling everyone I was tearing the family apart and that she might never recover from this heartbreak. At this point, I don't even care. She disrespected me, she disrespected my marriage, and she disrespected my child. Actions have consequences. So yeah, MIL still hasn't met the baby. And unless she does some serious apologizing and self-reflection, she won't be anytime soon. Top comments. Commenter 1. She was hoping to get a strand of my baby's hair or some spit to confirm the truth. So if her truth is that the baby isn't your husband's, why does she care if you are keeping her granddaughter from her, and that I'm punishing her over a harmless question? If her truth is that it's not his kid, then it's not her grandchild. She can't have it both ways. I would so be saying that to every flying monkey. MIL is convinced I cheated on DH and it's not his baby. Therefore she believes it's not her granddaughter. So by her truth, I'm not keeping her from her granddaughter, cause according to her, baby isn't. She can't have it both ways. Reply. Update 2. Well, I wish I could say things got better, but nope. My MIL has somehow managed to make things worse. After I refused to let her hold my baby, she went on a full-blown smear campaign against me. She told extended family that I was controlling and keeping her granddaughter away out of spite. She conveniently left out the part where she accused me of cheating and demanded a DNA test. The worst part? My husband is starting to waver. He still thinks what she said was disgusting, but now that some relatives are siding with her and saying I'm being too harsh, he's wondering if we should just let her see the baby once and move on. I told him point blank, she questioned our child's paternity. She disrespected me, and by extension, you and our daughter. If we let this slide, what's next? Now he's torn. I can tell he wants to back me up, but he also doesn't want to be the bad guy in his family's eyes. I don't care about being the villain in a MIL story, but I do care about my husband having my back. So now I'm wondering, am I fighting a losing battle here? Is this the hill I should die on? Because right now, it feels like MIL is winning by playing the victim, and I'm the one being treated like the unreasonable one. Top comments. Commenter 1. Y'all need to tell your side of the story to the family. Don't let MIL be the only voice saying anything. Hell, send your first post to the family. Let MIL's lies or omissions catch up to her. If they still complain, they don't need to be family. Reply. I will, and I will tell what happened again, thank you. Stories number 2. Aita for telling a woman at the gym that she's embarrassing herself. I go to the gym a lot. About 6-ish months ago I noticed a woman I'll call Andrea. That's not her name, but it will be for the rest of this post. I don't know if Andrea started going to the gym 6 months ago or if that's just when I noticed her. Full disclosure, I spoke to her first, but I had no way of knowing what the result would be. A lot of the machines at this gym have little entertainment systems attached to them that can access local channels. I got on a treadmill and realized the TV on the treadmill wasn't working. Andrea was walking past and I said, "Hey, do you know if there's an issue with the cable? This TV isn't working, but I don't know if it's just this one or all of them." She said the same thing happened to her on a different machine. I thanked her. That was the whole interaction. A week later she asked me for some electrolyte powder for her water. I said I didn't have any. She was cool with that and asked me how long I'd been coming to the gym and what I did for work. I answered and returned her questions. She said she was new to the area and worked in private security. We had a few more chill conversations after that. 6 weeks ago she asked me out. For reasons I won't get into here, I wasn't interested. I declined. She said not to worry about things being awkward at the gym if we don't work out. I said that wasn't the issue, just not looking to date right now. She kept talking to me, and at first I kept talking to her, but I started to think something might be wrong, and I started avoiding her. 2 weeks ago she walked up to me while I was on a machine with only one way to properly dismount that involved stepping into where she was standing. She asked if I was avoiding her. I said I was and apologized. I said I just don't want to date right now. She said I don't have to avoid her to not date her. I said okay. I kept avoiding her though. Tonight while I was working out she confronted me again about avoiding her. I had a bad day and told her to leave me alone. She asked why I'm being such a prick, and I said because I wanted her to leave me alone. I then said that she was embarrassing herself and needs to stop. She put her foot on top of the weights, and I thought she was going to press down on them, so I let go of the bar very quickly, causing the weights to slam and make a loud noise. Several people looked over. She said, "Now who's embarrassing himself," and walked away. Did I go too far by saying that? Do I owe her an apology? Update. I went in early this morning for a run and told the front desk staff about Andrea putting her foot on the weights. They said they would talk to her. Then, after work, I went in again for a regular workout. I was working on my legs when she walked up to my machine. The first thing she did was apologize about the weights. I don't know if someone talked to her or if that was of her own initiative. I accepted her apology and apologized for saying she was embarrassing herself. She said she forgave me, but if I wanted to really make it up to her I could buy her a drink and she would buy me one too to make up for the weights. I said maybe we should buy our own drinks, meaning separately at different places and times, and she misunderstood me and asked when and where. I told her I meant that I didn't want to go out with her. She said this wouldn't be a date but a reset for our friendship. I said I didn't want to be friends. She said I was being a douche and asked what my problem is. I said the weight incident made me uncomfortable, and I would rather us just give each other space. She then asked me if my problem with her is that she's Hispanic. I was so taken aback. I didn't even know she was until she said that. I said no, that she just makes me uncomfortable. She wanted me to explain what about her made me uncomfortable, and I tried to do so, but she argued with every point I made. I got frustrated and told her to just stay away from me. She said fine and that I have a lot of maturing to do. Then she walked away. I'm hoping that's the end of it. Update 2. Andrea is banned from the gym. I was running on the treadmill and watching TV. She came up to talk to me, and I ignored her, staring at the TV. She raised her voice and I continued to ignore her. She reached out and pulled the safety tab out of the treadmill, the one you connect to your wrist so the treadmill stops if you fall, causing the treadmill to come to a sudden stop. I tripped and fell onto the controls and TV, scratching my chin on the top of the screen. I went to the front desk with Andrea following me. I told them what she did. She kept trying to interrupt me and talk over me, but the woman at the front desk told her to be quiet and wait her turn. I told her Andrea pulled out the safety tab while I was running and injured me. The woman at the front desk then asked Andrea what happened. Andrea said I was staring into the middle distance, like I was in some kind of voyage state, and she thought I was having a medical episode, so she pulled the tab. The woman at the front desk asked for her membership card. Andrea didn't want to give it to her, but the woman at the front desk said if she didn't she would ban her. Andrea gave her the card and the woman at the front desk said to leave and she was suspended for a month. Andrea objected and got into an argument with the woman at the front desk that escalated into Andrea calling the woman an N-word B-word. So she was banned permanently. I hesitate to call that a happy ending because the poor gym employee had to put up with racial harassment, but I won't deny getting to watch her cut up Andrea's membership card felt good. Update 3. Last night I went to a bar near my apartment to meet up with some friends. The three of us were drinking and having a good time when Andrea walked up. I never saw her enter the bar. I only noticed her when she was in front of us. She greeted me and said it was good to see me and leaned in to try to kiss me. I pushed her away from me and she fell, but one of my friends caught her. She started yelling and asking what the fuck is wrong with me. I told her to stay away from me and not come any closer. She asked if I was embarrassed of her and didn't want my friends to see her. I said this is the third time you've tried to assault me and I want you to stay away from me. At that point the bouncer showed up to ask what was going on. Andrea said I pushed her. I tried to explain that she tried to kiss me and is stalking me, but I was drunk and not doing a great job. My friends also tried to explain that I was innocent, but they were also drunk. Security kicked me out of the bar. My friends walked me home. I am definitely going to try to get a restraining order. This has gone way too far. Stories number 3. Aita for not letting my roommate's boyfriend shower at our place anymore. So I, 21F, live in a 2-bedroom flat with my roommate, 22F. We've lived together for a little over a year and mostly things have been fine. We split rent and bills evenly, and we're friendly, though not super close. We respect each other's space and it's been good up until recently. About 6 months ago, she started dating this guy, 24M. He was around once or twice a week at first but now he's here constantly, literally sleeps over 5 to 6 nights a week, sometimes full weeks in a row. He's not on the lease, doesn't pay rent, doesn't bring shopping, doesn't help with anything at all, nothing. I've never said much because I get it, it's her boyfriend, and I didn't want to start drama. But what's been bothering me lately is the shower thing. He showers all of the time. Like twice a day minimum, sometimes more, and every single time, he uses my stuff. My shampoo, conditioner, face wash, razor, deodorant. Yes, I noticed. I didn't even say anything the first few times because I thought maybe she let him borrow something once, but this is just ongoing now. I've moved all my things into my room and carry them back and forth like I'm at a camp or something. I brought it up to my roommate a while ago and she just went, he probably didn't realize, and didn't do anything about it. Last week I finally said something more direct and told her I wasn't comfortable with him showering here constantly, especially since he doesn't live here, doesn't contribute anything, and uses my stuff. I told her I'd feel different if he at least bought his own stuff or chipped in somehow. She got super annoyed and said he doesn't have any money right now, so it's not like he can buy his own things, and that I was being cold and controlling. She told me I was overreacting and that it's just hygiene. I snapped and said it's not about hygiene, it's about boundaries and respect. For what it's worth, I wouldn't have even minded grabbing him some basics if she just asked, but she didn't, and neither did he. They just assumed I'd be fine with it. And honestly, I don't even really like him. He's not awful, just kinda moochy and not self-aware at all. So maybe I'm being harsh because I already find him annoying. Now my roommate's barely speaking to me and told one of our mutual friends that I'm being weirdly territorial and passive-aggressive over a guy taking a quick shower. I don't know. Part of me feels bad because he is broke and maybe I'm being too harsh, but I also feel like I'm being walked over in my own home. I just need unbiased advice. So Aita. Update. So, I ended up having another conversation with my roommate after she got home, mostly because I couldn't keep walking around like everything's fine when it's really not, and the comments I read from my previous post helped me to come to that conclusion. I told her as calmly as I could that this situation is seriously getting to me. I get it that she's in love, but I'm not just some side character in her life who has to deal with the boyfriend constantly being in our home. I told her flat out that it's been months now of him basically living here, eating, showering, lounging around, sleeping over 5 to 6 nights a week, and it's crossing the line. She just kind of blinked at me and said I was being heartless, literally said those exact words. Saying I had no compassion for her relationship or for him, or the fact he had barely any money and needed somewhere to stay most days and needed food, etc. She accused me of being dramatic and of caring more about shampoo than a person who means the world to her, and I just snapped. I told her this is not about shampoo. It's about the fact that her boyfriend, who doesn't pay rent, doesn't contribute to bills and isn't even on the lease, has been using all of my personal stuff for months without asking. Like literally never asked, not once, and neither did she. He just started helping himself to my shampoo, my conditioner, my razor, my face wash and my deodorant like I'm running a free hotel and he's a guest. And the worst part is he barely even talks to me. This man's been living in my space for months and I swear we've had maybe 2 conversations ever. Half the time he doesn't even say hi when he walks in the door and just walks straight past me like I'm invisible and hops in the shower with my products like it's no big deal. I can't believe I have put up with it for this long. I told her if either of them had asked even just once I probably would have been chill about it, like yeah, he's broke, I get it because times are hard. I would have even offered to grab him a few basics if he was short on cash, but no one said anything. They just silently decided it was okay for him to mooch off of me and my stuff and my space without so much as a conversation, like I don't get a say in any of this. She got super defensive, like arms crossed and full of attitude, and said something like, well, he's my boyfriend and I'm allowed to have him over. It's my home too, and I said yeah, you are allowed to have him over, but let's not pretend like he's just here. Sometimes, he's always here. He's been here more nights than not for the past few months, and when he's not sleeping over he's still around. He's basically moved in without actually moving in. And if he's gonna act like he lives here, then he needs to contribute like he lives here. She just rolled her eyes and said, and I quote, get used to it. He's my boyfriend, and as I said before, he has barely any money, so wouldn't be able to contribute anything, and that was it for me. I've been so patient. I've tried to be understanding. I've given them the benefit of the doubt over and over again. But at this point I feel completely disrespected and walked over in my own home. I've realized I'm not overreacting, I'm reacting to months of not being heard and being treated like I don't matter. I'm calling our landlord tomorrow morning. I'm going to explain that this guy has effectively moved in. He's been staying here for weeks on end, using the amenities, taking up space, and not paying a single penny toward rent or bills, and if he's going to keep staying here, he needs to start paying his share. I didn't want it to come to this, but I'm not going to keep carrying the weight of a third person in this flat just because my roommate's in a relationship. She made it clear she's not going to do anything about it, so now I have to. Update 2. Thank you guys for all of your help and comments on my prior posts. And yes, if you can tell, I've taken on board the advice about paragraphs and capitalization. LOL, sorry, I'm so used to typing with no capitals and just totally forgot about paragraphs in the stress of me typing it all out. I appreciate everyone who took the time to comment on my last post. It honestly helped me feel so much less crazy about all of this. So like I said I would, this morning I spoke to my landlord. I was so anxious before calling because I didn't want it to feel like I was like tattling or trying to blow things up, but I also knew I couldn't ignore it any longer. He picked up quickly and was actually really calm and professional about everything. I explained the situation as clearly and fairly as I could and told him that my roommate's boyfriend has been staying over 5 to 6 nights a week, sometimes more, using all of our utilities, taking over our shared space, and even using my personal things like it's all free despite not paying a single penny toward rent or bills or even any shopping. The landlord paused for a moment and then told me that it wasn't okay. He told me that technically under the lease guests are allowed for short stays like the occasional overnight or weekend. But then said that's very different from someone else effectively living in the flat, and that if someone is staying over more than a couple nights a week on a consistent basis, that counts as an unofficial tenant. He said that if my roommate wants him there full time, he needs to be added to the lease and start contributing to rent and bills immediately. Otherwise, he said her boyfriend will have to seriously cut back on how often he's staying over, and if my roommate refuses to cooperate or tries to keep things as they are, it could result in her being in breach of the lease agreement. He said she could face consequences, including possible eviction if this continues without resolution. That honestly shook me a little, but also validated that I'm not overreacting. Now on to the more awkward part. A few hours ago at around 5 p.m. her boyfriend showed up again. As he came in and went to walk past me like usual, I stopped him and said I needed to talk to him. He looked caught off guard and kind of gave me that fake confused, about what, expression, but I stood firm and said I just needed to clear the air. I told him I had noticed he's been staying here constantly and using all my stuff such as my shampoo, my face wash, my razor, and yes, I got a new razor the same day I noticed he was using mine, deodorant, all of it without ever asking. I said I was really uncomfortable with it, especially since he's not on the lease or contributing anything. That's when he got defensive. He didn't yell or anything, but his tone immediately turned snappy and kind of guilt-trippy. He said something like that he was sorry he didn't have somewhere else to go right now and that he was in a deep place. He then said that he wasn't trying to make my life hard and that he was just trying to survive. Then he launched into this whole monologue about how he's unemployed, struggling with his mental health, that his family all cut him off, he can barely afford food let alone shampoo, and how my attitude is just another example of people turning their backs on someone who's already at rock bottom. He even asked if I think he wants to be in this position, or if I think he feels good about the way he lives, like I was supposed to feel guilty for bringing it up. I stayed calm and told him that I wasn't trying to kick him whilst he's down. And that if he had just asked me I probably would have said yes and I might have even bought him some basics. But he didn't ask and he just started helping himself, like it was owed to him. He didn't really have a response to that, other than shrugging and muttering that he didn't think it was a big deal and that my roommate told him it was fine. I said it is a big deal to me. This is my home too, and he has been treating it like a free house that he's allowed to live in, and that's not sustainable anymore. I told him my landlord's going to get involved now and things will have to change. Either he gets added to the lease and starts paying his share, or he stops staying over all the time. And if neither, my roommate could end up being evicted. He got quiet after that. Gave me some annoyed half apology and went into her room. Honestly, I think he was more embarrassed than anything. But I'm not backing down now because I've done my part and I've been patient. I've communicated like an adult, so what happens next is on them. No word yet from my roommate after her convo with the landlord, which I assume happened as my landlord doesn't usually say stuff and not follow through with it, and she still hasn't come back home, which leads me to the belief that she's furious. That said, I'm done prioritizing her comfort over my own peace of mind, as I've been more than fair. I will update again if when my roommate says anything to me. Also, I've officially locked my shower stuff away and the snacks that I had previously bought, which were my snacks I bought with my money. I went to Argos this morning and got one of those little lockable storage boxes and slid it under my bed as some of you suggested. I made a very unique 4-digit code for it too, so hopefully my roommate's boyfriend doesn't go to the extreme of trying to open and snoop through a locked box. Thank you so much for all of your comments and constructive criticism of my non-capitals and paragraphs. Sorry, but hopefully this is easier to read. Update 3. Thank you for all your comments and positivity on my previous posts. I'm hoping this will all blow over soon, as confrontation is not my thing in general, and this is a situation I really don't want to be in, as I don't want to be the reason someone who's already struggling ends up on the streets. And before I get into the latest update, I did see a comment asking why I didn't just ask her why he doesn't use her stuff, and the answer is because he already does, lol. He uses both of our stuff whenever he feels like it, but for some reason it's mostly mine he grabs. Anyways, my roommate came home about an hour ago, just before 12 p.m., and it was obvious from the second she walked through the door that she was furious. She slammed the front door shut, slammed her keys a little too hard onto the side table, and threw her bag down. I was in the living room at the time and the energy shift was instant. I waited a moment, then came out from the living room, said hello and asked as gently as I could if everything was okay. She didn't answer right away and just stood there with her jaw clenched before blurting out that she couldn't believe I actually called our landlord. And then asked me why I was being so dramatic. I stayed calm and said that I had already told her I was going to if nothing changed, and that I didn't go behind her back. She gave this bitter laugh and said something along the lines of, "Yeah, well, now thanks to that our landlord told me in no uncertain terms that boyfriend's name is not allowed to stay more than 2 nights a week anymore unless he starts paying rent." She was absolutely livid. She asked me if I even understood what that meant. And then said he literally has nowhere else to go right now and he's been staying here because he doesn't have a home, not because they were trying to take advantage of me or something. She kept telling me he was struggling and would have no money to pay rent or bills, and now what, is he supposed to just wander around in the cold at night and freeze to death while you, and I quote, sleep soundly knowing your shampoo's safe and sound. That last line was so sarcastic it would have been funny if it wasn't so frustrating and guilt-tripping. I took a deep breath and said that it was not about the shampoo, it was about how he's been here constantly, like literally living here without ever being asked to contribute anything, and literally had barely even acknowledged me ever. I mentioned that I tried to talk to her about it twice and she blew it off both times. What else was I supposed to do? She crossed her arms and looked at me like I was the most cold-hearted person alive. She told me he was her boyfriend, and of course she would want him here. That he's going through so much and now I've made it so he feels completely unwelcome. She told me his family just cut him off one day with no reason and all of his friends stopped talking to him too and apparently treated him awfully, which in my opinion seems ironic, but maybe that's just me, lol. Apparently he called her after I confronted him earlier and told her he's going to stay at a friend's place tonight, and he sounded like he was about to cry before he hung up the phone, then said this was just another example of people not giving a fuck about him when he needs it most. I literally didn't even hear him leave, so he must have crept out, lol. I could feel the guilt tripping in every word. But honestly, I've reached the point where I'm done letting it work on me. I said that I was sorry he's going through a rough time. But this is my home too. I pay rent, I pay bills. I keep this place going just like she does. I'm not an extra in her relationship. She brought someone into this space without asking, let him treat it like it's his, and didn't lift a finger when it started affecting me. That's not okay. She went quiet at that, still clearly annoyed but with nothing left to say that wouldn't sound like more of the same. After a few seconds she just said, "I hope you're happy," and walked off into her room, slamming the door behind her. I'm not happy. I didn't want it to come to this. But I'm also not sorry. I've been way more patient than I should have been, and I've tried to handle this like an adult. I don't think her boyfriend feeling unwelcome is because I'm cruel, it's because they've both acted like the rules don't apply to them and that's not my fault. So I guess this is where things stand for now. Tense, awkward, and probably about to get worse before they get better. But I feel like I can see the horizon of no more stolen shampoo, and hopefully this will all be over soon. Thank you for all of your comments, they mean a lot to me, smiley face. Stories number 4. Aita for renting an apartment without telling my parents, even though they depend on me emotionally. I, 24F, recently rented an apartment 6 minutes from my parents' house. I didn't tell them beforehand, just told them after everything was signed. And now they're saying I betrayed them. For context, I have a full-time job as a civil servant in IT, not as chill as people assume. I'm graduating college this year, and I make enough to support myself comfortably. I rented this place because I'm really sick. Like, medically sick. A few days ago, I got test results showing my stress system has collapsed from chronic stress. My doctor said if I keep living like this, I'll start experiencing symptoms similar to menopause by 25. That scared me. Life at home is intense. There are daily fights, no privacy, no space to study or relax. My dad sleeps on the floor because there aren't enough beds. I'm not allowed to play games, talk to friends on the phone, or even use my computer freely. Everything must be turned off by 9 to 10 p.m. They watch my screen, monitor everything, and after a stalker situation and finding out I had an American friend, they doubled down on controlling me. My mom has a condition where she gets seizures at night when she's under stress. I'm the only one who stays calm enough to help because my dad panics and rocks her, my sister just cries and hugs her. So yes, I know they depend on me emotionally. But the doctor said it's a lifelong condition and not fatal. We've tried to keep the peace at home, but nothing really works. The stress is constant. So I made a choice. I found a nice, quiet place nearby. I thought I was helping everyone because they wouldn't need to pay for my health costs anymore. My dad could take my bed, my sister could use my room to study. I stayed close in case they needed me, but when I told them, they cried, yelled, said I was a traitor and ungrateful. That if I really cared, I would have asked their permission first. They said I need to break the lease, or they'll never speak to me again and will turn my whole extended family against me, including my elderly grandparents, who don't have much time left. Now I'm second-guessing everything. Was I wrong for acting fast and not involving them in the decision? Was it cruel to do it without asking, even though it's my life, my money, and my health at risk? Aita for renting an apartment without their input, even if it means finally being able to breathe. Stories number 5. Aita for telling my fiancé I won't help pay the mortgage. For some background, I, 29F and my fiancé 30M have been together for 10 years. We had a baby back in 2020 and I lost my job around the same time. Our lease to our apartment was up and my grandma offered for us to move in with her, so we did. We basically had our own little apartment rent-free. I had thrown the idea of going to school out there and everyone agreed it was a good idea. My fiancé paid for it and my grandma watched my baby while I went to class. I graduate this semester. I did part-time for a couple semesters. My fiancé has been making $90K a year for the past couple years and $70K when we first moved in. He saved a good amount of money. We agreed to wait to get married until I finished school and we could buy a house together. We've been looking at houses more seriously for a past couple months and found one we both love. We started talking to a mortgage broker and that's when he dropped the bomb on it being him and only him on the mortgage and the deed. He said I wouldn't have anything to do with it. I didn't say anything in the meeting, but afterwards I told him I thought we were buying the house together and I'd pay half the mortgage. He said I would be paying half the mortgage but my name just wouldn't be on it. So I told him that would mean I'd have no right to the house and he said he knew. He said since he saved the 40% down that it's only fair that he has the rights to the house in case we end things. I told him if that's what he wants to do then I'm not paying for the mortgage. I said this isn't a partnership and if he just wants his own place fine, but I'm not paying for it. He called me a BTCH saying that he paid for everything for the past few years including my schooling. I told him I stayed home and watched our child so we didn't have to pay for daycare and that ended up saving us money since I would have been only able to work part-time. He said he didn't care and I need to pay for half since I already agreed to it. So Reddit Aita for refusing to pay the mortgage. ETA, originally we were supposed to move in with my grandma for a few months while we saved some money for renting a new place. I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to go to school so I'd make more money and we could potentially buy a place. My grandma said we should stay with her until I finish school so we can save up for a life together. My fiancé and I had agreed that we would be buying a house together. He paid for the schooling because we were getting married and my student loans would have been our problem, not just mine. He encouraged me to finish my education so we could give our child a better quality of life. Edit 2. For those of you saying him paying for my schooling would be more expensive than rent, my schooling in total costed $17,000. Across 5 years. That's $3,400 a year on average. Sum of comments. Commenter 1, NTA if your name isn't on the deed, don't pay the mortgage. Honestly, I'd debate moving into a house that was just his and then getting married. If he wants help with the mortgage, then he has to accept that you will also own the house. Reply, this was the original agreement. This is the first I've heard of me not being on the deed or mortgage. Commenter 2, NTA he got free rent and free childcare thanks to your family which allowed him to save that money. If your name isn't on that house you shouldn't put a dime into it. Reply, I'm honestly rethinking getting married ATP. This feels so out of left field he's literally never treated me this way before. I thought going to school and taking care of our son while not having to pay rent would have been an equal trade to him being able to save money honestly. Commenter 3, info can you guys not sign a contract where he owns 70% of the equity and you 30%? He puts down 40% the remaining 60% is split between both of you and you both pay the mortgage. He is an AH for how he spoke to you. Reply, it's not that I'm against doing something like this but it feels like he's already thinking of screwing me in a divorce and we're not even married. More on rent. This. My schooling costed $3,400 a year on average. We were paying about $2,000 a month in rent. Rent has only gone up since then but just off paying for my school instead of rent he saved over $20,000 a year. Not to mention daycare costs in our area. We were looking at $2,000 a month full-time for an infant and about $1,600 as a toddler. If I worked and went to school at the same time the entirety of my income, I was only making about $2,500 a month before I got let go, would have gone towards daycare and school. I would have broken even and we would have been no better off. Commenter 4, how do you have BSN and it only costs $17,000? A bachelor's is $50,000 easy. I'm sorry but I cannot take your story at a 100% face value. Reply, I had a scholarship and Pell Grant and went to community college that offered a bridge program from RN to BSN. Update post 1. So first thank you to everyone who commented, a lot of you had great insight and were very supportive. To those who weren't I got to see a perspective of how my fiancé might be feeling so thank you for that too. Although some of you were extremely misogynistic. To answer some questions, my grandma offered to give us a place to stay for a few months while I looked for a job and so we could save some money. This was the beginning of the lockdown and no one was sure what the job market would look like. I had brought up finishing my degree and my grandma offered to watch my baby while I was in class. My fiancé said he'd pay for it since we didn't have to pay for rent or daycare. He called it an investment in our future. I got a Pell Grant and a scholarship so he ended up only having to pay, on average, $3,400 a year for the schooling. If I wasn't going to school, my grandma didn't want us staying there long term. This was purely her trying to give us a leg up and help us in our future. She wouldn't have done so if she knew what my fiancé was going to do, she said this. For the update, I told my fiancé we needed to talk about this arrangement and I asked why he changed his mind all of a sudden. He said he worked hard for his money and didn't want to lose everything if we got divorced. I said that was fair but he's now putting me in a position to lose everything if I have zero rights to the property. He said I didn't save up the money so the house should be his and his alone until and unless I put down 40% also. I asked if he'd consider a prenup that would give him the 40% he put down and we'd split 50-50 the rest of the equity. I said this would protect the lump sum he put down while also giving me equity I'd be paying for. He said he'd have to think about it but he doesn't like the idea of having to sell if we split. I said then he can get his own place that he can afford on his own if he doesn't want me on the title that badly. This one he could barely afford with just his income, not sure if he'd even be approved for the mortgage on his own tbh. I also mentioned that I wanted to do couples therapy before we get married. He said no. That we didn't need therapy and I just needed to listen to him. That was the end of the conversation. I don't know who this person is. This is not the man I had a child with. The man I had a child with massaged me every night while I was pregnant, he listened attentively to every random thing I wanted to talk about, he treated me with the utmost respect, he was the only person I wanted with me while I gave birth. He used to say he could never hurt me or screw me over because it'd hurt our child. I love him so much. I don't know what happened. Some of comments. We do have separate accounts thankfully. He'll have zero access to my money once I start my job in a couple weeks. To a misogynistic comment, but I liked OOP's response. How about he was able to save over 100k just by not having to pay rent, childcare, or utilities for 5 years. He would have had to pay all that and I'd be making less money had he not paid for my schooling and gotten a free place to stay with my grandma. Take your misogyny elsewhere. Commenter, part of a very long comment, it does sound like he's been red-pilled and joined the manosphere at some point. OOP, thank you. I'm going to see if I can find any evidence of him consuming manosphere content. I think you might be right. There has been other signs now that I look back. I cannot and will not stay with someone who's been red-pilled. For the sake of my child, I think either way he'll be able to buy a house, but the one we were looking at was really nice, he wouldn't get one that nice by himself. That's for sure. Update post 2. Thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. You've shown me I'm not alone in this and that other people have gone through the same. I also feel vindicated in my decision to not pay half the mortgage if I'm not on the deed, thank you. Anyways, tonight he and I got to talking about the arrangement again. He said he didn't want to do the prenup I mentioned in my last update. So I told him my final offer was couples therapy and getting married before we buy a house. I told him we should get a rental temporarily until we figure everything out and come to an agreement. He outright refused, again. He said he didn't want to waste money renting. He then said I'm not entitled to any of his money and he won't buy a house after we marry because I'll just win it in a divorce. I said fine, we won't get married. He asked if I was breaking up with him and I said I didn't know, but I needed space. He lost it. Called me a BTCH and a gold digger and told me I owe him $30,000. I don't know where he got this number from. He said I'm used up and no one will ever want me again. He went on ranting, yelling at me, for about 3 minutes until my grandma came over to us and told him to leave. He's staying the night at a hotel and has called me repeatedly. He's left a few angry voicemails. I feel so numb. My baby is confused and keeps asking why I'm upset and where their dad went. I hate this so much. To everyone who mentioned he might have gotten in with the manosphere red pill content, you were right. I looked at who he subscribed to on YouTube, sure enough I saw Joe Rogan, Fresh and Fit Podcast, Just Purely Things, and Aiden Ross. Safe to say he's fallen down the manosphere rabbit hole. I know the man I fell in love with is gone and there's nothing I can do about it. There were definitely signs I didn't notice. He always said he was saving his money, and he was buying a house. He also said, on more than one occasion, he was the man of the house. He got really big on being a provider and protector. I didn't put it all together until now. His behavior change has been pretty recently, like the last 8 to 9 months. That's it. My life is a shit show. Writing it out has been somewhat therapeutic. Thank you all again for your support. Sum of comments. Commenter 1, welp, based on that rant, I guess you're single again. Do not take him back. Consider it a bullet dodged on the marriage front, and keep all of those texts and voicemails for a protective order plus the custody battle. Reply, you've guessed correctly. I cannot and will not get over this. Top commenter, keep the voicemails and messages he sends. You may need them. Get ready to go to court to custody and child support. Do not be alone with this man. Edit, grandma is awesome. If he comes back and is yelling and acting up, call the cops. Reply, unfortunately I have a friend who went through something similar with her husband, although his problem was porn addiction, so I know the drill. She said to keep and document everything. My grandma's friend's son is a family lawyer and we're him going to call tomorrow. Editor's note, because I know it will come up in the comments, yes, it can be common to know a friend of a friend lawyer. I personally am related to, am friends with, acquainted with, or am at least friends on Facebook with 8 different lawyers LOL. Commenter, I'm sad for you but at the same time super happy you found all this about his true self before getting married and stuff. Now you can move on with your life. Hopefully he will be there for the kids, but please leave this man and never take him back. Reply, I don't plan to take him back. I can't imagine showing my kid this example of love. To a longer ESH comment. I've seen a few comments like this, so I'm going to address a few things. Before I went to school we had discussions in length about what was going to happen with our relationship financially. The money he saved was over 100k. That would have easily covered just rent if we were to have had our own place. His money was supposed to be money for our family. I tried suggesting a compromise that some people came up with on my initial post. He didn't like the suggestion because he didn't want me to have any ownership in the house I'd be paying for too. He didn't want to pay for the mortgage by himself either. The reason I didn't work is because my grandma said she wouldn't watch out child that much. As it stood with me going to class, she watched him for max 3 hours a day during the week. So we would have had to pay for daycare to cover my work and school hours. This would have had to be full-time combined. It would have costed the entirety of what I'd make to pay for school and daycare. We, my ex and I, decided it'd be better for me and our child if I didn't work and save the daycare cost. His only contribution he did for the entirety of living with my grandma was my college, $3,400 a year, sometimes groceries, myself or my grandma had to cook for him still, and occasionally doing dishes and watching his child. I did 90% of the childcare and about 60% of the household chores, grandma did about 35%. My schooling doesn't only benefit me, it benefits our child. And if we're being 100% honest, it benefits him too because the more I am making the less he'll have to pay in child support. New update post. I've had a lot of people reach out and ask for an update, so here it is. A few days after my last update he texted me and asked if we could meet to talk. I agreed and left my kid with my grandma and met him at a coffee shop. He started with an apology and went on about how that wasn't him and he's a good guy, he just drank too much and lost control. He asked me if I wanted to get married still and I said no. He asked if he could move back in so we could work on things, and I said no. He even offered to do couples therapy and I said I'd have to think about it. He got quiet and asked if I ever even loved him. I said I did, but I can't handle the whole woe is me thing he's been doing. I said I would have never tried to screw him over in the case of a divorce and that if I didn't love him I would have never had a kid with him. I said he needs to do individual therapy before I'd consider doing couples therapy with him. He got angry and yelled that I needed therapy more than he did and he refused to do it without me. He got up and said he's going to take me to court and fight for full custody and that I'd never see a dime from him. I'm assuming he meant child support. Since then he tried dropping by unannounced to take our kid. My grandma's lawyer friend, technically her friend's son, told me that since we don't have a custody agreement in place it's a free-for-all and he could legally take him across state lines. He said it can be much more difficult to get him back especially if we don't know where he is. So I didn't let him take our kid but said he's welcome to come visit but he's not leaving with him until we have a custody arrangement in place. That ended about as well as you could imagine. My grandma told me I can stay as long as I need and I got my kid signed up for daycare. That's all for now. I'm hoping we can find an arrangement without courts but we'll see. Commenter. It's not that I'm not letting him see our child, I am. I'm just not letting him take him to an undisclosed location. We've been meeting at parks and at my grandma's. He can see our kid as much as he wants, just not without me. I don't trust that he would disappear with our kid. It is our child but it's also mine and also his. What your point is with the my kid and our kid thing. Stories number 6. Aita for refusing to do something special on my wedding day for my sister because she refused to do something for me at hers. 30F, I'm getting married this Sunday, and my sister Jessica, 28F, got married 2 years ago. A couple of weeks before her wedding my ex left me for another woman, and it was devastating because I thought that he was going to propose soon. At my sister's wedding I asked her if she could throw the bouquet to me as to wish me luck, but she refused and said that she didn't want to damage it. I asked her to lend it to me for a couple of pics instead and she refused that too. I said nothing more and I didn't bring it up again until now. Okay, my sister is pregnant and wants to announce it at my wedding, she asked and I said absolutely not. When she asked why I told her that the wedding is for my fiancé and I, too. She didn't do what I asked her to do at her wedding, so why would I do what she asks in mine? She's pissed and says that I'm being ridiculous. Our mother says that I'm being childish. Edit, tomorrow is the wedding and my sister is currently not talking to me, and neither is my mother. I cannot uninvite them but I'm very concerned. Update, Aita for refusing to do something special on my wedding day for my sister because she refused to do something for me at hers. Hi everyone, just here to give you an update. Now for the update. I had a talk with my mother and sister beforehand and clearly told them that if either of them announced the pregnancy or made it obvious in any way, I would go no contact with them for good. They either didn't believe me or didn't care. My wedding was also low cost. On my side, the only family attending were my mom, stepdad, uncle, sister, and brother-in-law. My now husband only had his mother there. The rest of the guests were 5 friends we both invited. There were no speeches or anything formal planned. The ceremony went smoothly, and we moved to the reception area. As soon as we sat down, my sister said she had something to share. I looked at her and said, "No, you don't." It was awkward, since most people there had no idea what was going on. In my country, wedding gifts are usually given after the cake. Well, my mother handed my sister her gift and said, "The new mom also deserves some recognition." That was it for me. My sister started crying happy tears and even had the audacity to try to hug me. I stepped aside and told both of them that the celebration was over, for them. They left, because my stepdad and brother-in-law finally realized I wasn't joking. I haven't responded to any of their calls or messages. I'm done. Stories number 7. Aita for considering divorcing my husband because of a prank I found to be inappropriate. I, 22F, have been with my husband for a year and a half, 21M, Josiah. Rick is, 25M, and Fawn is his girlfriend, 25F. Rick is Josiah's best friend. He stayed the night over at their place. I've met them briefly before, but I really don't know them at all. I never really met them because I was never willing to drive a town over. We drove back home and it was a 4-day trip including like arrival and leaving, so basically like 3 days total technically. My husband said I should meet them more. I agreed and decided to spend a night there. They all play video games and all talk together. I've never been able to get the hang of it, so I just don't really include myself. I just have a laptop and they have gaming setups and consoles. I'm not as invested as they are. They game for hours together sometimes. I've tried to get into, but it's kind of hard because they're all like very try hard, which I understand, but it's just like frustrating for them and myself honestly. We had dinner together and they all decided to play games together. There was a console my husband was using. Dinner was some really light talk with myself and then they all had their own conversation about video games. Rick and his spouse were using their setups. I just got on my phone. They set it up in their living room, so we could all be together. I sat on the couch watching TikTok. My husband and Rick are talking about the game. All of a sudden, Rick sits next to my husband. They whisper to each other and then my husband tells me, "Would you like to have a foursome?" My husband and I have discussed how we just think those things are gross and not for us and just not okay. We're Christians and just don't think it's okay at all. We've talked about it multiple times on multiple occasions. I'm pretty much feeling shock. I'm not okay. My chest is pumping like crazy. I'm trying to breathe slower, but I'm just breathing faster. My husband goes on to say that it would make him so happy and how he'd be so happy if I would agree. Rick is silent and smiling. Fawn is in the corner smiling and just sitting there. My husband is straight-faced. I immediately start crying because I'm grossed out and just I have no clue where what or just I have no clue. My husband keeps saying it'll only be one time honey, for me. I just keep crying. Rick and Josiah face each other and he looked back to me. Rick starts laughing and my husband says, "It's a joke, baby." I tell him I don't find it funny at all and I'm really not okay that he even said that. That's just a line I wouldn't even cross as a joke. I'm still crying. Fawn starts saying that it's really not a big deal and they didn't mean it, that they planned the prank over a game and thought it would be funny. My husband reiterated it again. I just said I need a second. I went to the bathroom and cried. I heard them move over into the kitchen. I grabbed my stuff from the guest bedroom and I left. I called my dad and asked him to pick me up at the end of the road. My husband calls me while I'm waiting. I block his number and every other number that came up. I didn't have the heart to talk to my dad about it because they're so close, they're best friends truly. Like fishing trips for days and they're just always talking and hanging out. I talked to my mom about it and she thinks it was completely inappropriate, but I shouldn't divorce him. That I should accept his apology. I feel like it wasn't a prank maybe and that it wasn't okay. He knew it'd make me uncomfortable and make me feel awful. I texted him in the morning saying that I don't know if I want to be in this marriage anymore and I think I might want a divorce. I need time and that I'll be staying with my parents. I'm taking time off work. He responded with, "You can't be serious. What do you mean I love you? Don't be so dramatic and come talk to me." I don't want to talk to him. My MIL called me and told me I shouldn't be so sensitive and that I need to grow up. My SAL called me also telling me, "Am I serious?" My sister feels I'm maybe being too dramatic when I told her. I feel like the asshole for even considering divorce and maybe I was dramatic. Aita. Stories number 8. Aita for losing weight for my friend's wedding. Although I'm already that skinny friend, I, F28, recently lost a fair bit of weight and now my friend, F30, is saying I'm trying to upstage her at her wedding. My best friend Emily got engaged at the end of last year and asked me to be a bridesmaid. I was super happy and of course said yes. In the past 3 years I have put on some weight, about 2 dress sizes. It didn't really bother me until recently, so I decided to use the wedding as an excuse to lose some weight. I just find it easier to do if I have a goal and end date. This past weekend we were bridesmaid dress shopping and Emily was acting kind of weird towards me, giving me funny looks and talking over me. The 2 other bridesmaids, one I'm friends with, the other I don't know very well, didn't seem to notice, so I brushed it off thinking she was just stressed. Me and Emily live really close to each other, so usually after something like this we would hang out for the day at one of our houses. At the end of the appointment I asked her whose house she wanted to go to and she scoffed and told me she was going home. I asked what was wrong and this is when she went off on me. I don't remember word for word what she said because I was so confused and shocked. But these are the bits I remember. She basically said it was clear I was trying to lose weight to upstage her for her wedding, that I was already the skinny friend, and now I'm just trying to make it all about me, especially as I never cleared my weight loss with her. She said I clearly knew what I was doing was wrong because I was still wearing oversized clothes to disguise my weight loss. I just haven't updated my wardrobe and prefer to be comfortable over wearing tight-fitting stuff. I don't consider myself skinny, but I am the smallest out of the four of us. I also didn't think about how changing my appearance would affect her vision for her wedding. I've never been a bridesmaid before, so I don't know if that was something I should have considered. So I don't think I'm the AH for losing the weight, unless I am. But AITH for not telling her I was going to lose weight. Edit. Guys, I now know it's lose. I'm sorry for my dyslexia. I would go and edit all of them out but one. I have been told there are many. I'm too lazy for that, and two. I now think it's hilarious how annoying you all seem to find it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Why would someone being thin upstage the bride? I don't get this at all. Reply. Beats me. I didn't really think that much about it other than the fact that my knees crack like glow sticks and I get wheezy when I have to go up 2 flights of stairs, and I wanted that to change. But never been involved with a wedding before, so I didn't know if I'd made a boo-boo and was just being insensitive. Top comment. Commenter 1. NTA Jesus Christ. I can't anymore with these bride stories. My 2 bridesmaids were smaller than me, a lot smaller than me. But honestly, that thought never even crossed my mind at the time. They're my best friends. They would have been my bridesmaids no matter what, if they were supermodels, if they were 800 pounds, if they had pink hair, no legs, hairy armpits, full body tattoos, whatever. They weren't my bridesmaids because of how they looked, or worse, because of how they made me look. They were my bridesmaids because they were my best friends and I loved them, and I wanted them to be there with me on my big day, no matter what. To the brides out there, if they're hotter than you, prettier than you, thinner than you, get over it. That's not what it's about, and if you think that's what it's about, you probably shouldn't be getting married. Because you're not in the right mental place to be starting a whole new adult life with someone else. You have to love yourself first. Get your shit together, get your priorities straight. Don't project your shit on the people who love you the most. Reply. I did cut off both legs, that's how I lost the weight, and you're saying I can go ahead and with the pink hair dye and body tattoos? Sweet, only joking, but thank you, you sound like a pretty great person. Update. First off, thanks for all the support as well as all the spelling lessons, they have cheered me up a lot. Not sure if anyone wanted an update, but you're getting one anyway. I called my friend as I'm currently away for work, so couldn't meet face to face. Spoiler, it did not go well. I started by telling her it was not my intent to make her feel any kind of way and tried to explain I had already been on my weight loss journey before she got engaged. I asked her if she really thought that I would be vindictive enough to try and upstage her at her wedding. Apparently this was the wrong thing to say. She started ranting about how I think I'm better than her, how whenever we go out together no one ever looks at her, only at me. I don't think this is true as she is very pretty and I'm pretty average looking. Here's where it gets bonkers bananas. She told me that her ex-boyfriend, who recently got married, is going to be at the wedding, and for a while he was thinking of leaving his, at the time, fiancé to ask me out, but my friend convinced him not to. I had no idea any of this went on and would have been appalled because 1. That's just weird, and 2. He's my best friend's ex and I'm now pretty sure she's still in love with him. I have been uninvited from the wedding. Unless I put the weight back on, then I can come, but not as a bridesmaid. Safe to say I now have a new motivation to keep the weight off and shall not be attending any weddings in the near future. She's always had a temper and has flipped out at me over random stuff before, but nothing ever this insane. I guess I'm going to have to get better at identifying red flags. Stories number 9. AITA for locking myself in the bathroom with my Switch just to get 30 minutes of peace. So I, 25M, live with my girlfriend, 24F, who I love seriously. She's amazing, but holy hell, she talks non-stop. I don't mean in a bad way, like I love hearing about her day, her work drama, her cousin's dog's digestive problems, all of it. But sometimes I just want to sit in silence and play Mario Kart without hearing, babe, do you think raccoons have feelings? Or, do you think my coworker hates me or is just bad at texting? Anyway, last Sunday, I was on the verge of losing it. I had just finished a brutal week of work, and I told her I needed like half an hour to reset. She said, of course, babe, and literally 7 minutes later, she popped in like the Kool-Aid man asking if I wanted to help reorganize the pantry because it's giving anxiety. Girl. No. So I grabbed my Switch and locked myself in the bathroom. Brought a Gatorade, a snack, even lit a candle to really lean into the vibe. I was mid-race when she starts knocking like it's a hostage negotiation. Are you okay? Why are you hiding from me? Did I do something? I tried to explain, still playing by the way, that I just needed a little alone time. She got super offended and said I was emotionally unavailable and using the bathroom to avoid emotional labor. Now she's been giving me side eyes for like 3 days and making weird comments like, hope the bathroom's comfy, your real girlfriend. So, Aita for locking myself in there just to play games and be alone for a bit. I swear I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just needed a moment where no one asked me if we should start composting. TLDR, needed peace, locked myself in bathroom with switch, girlfriend thinks I'm emotionally distant now. Just wanted to win one race in silence. Aita, comments by OOP, like what if I was in there fighting for my life after Taco Bell? I tried chilling in the bedroom but she kept coming in like, do you want to light a candle with me, or, should we deep clean the fridge together, it'll be fun. I love her, but sometimes I gotta disappear like a raccoon in the night. The bathroom's the only safe zone left in the apartment. I was starting to think I was losing my mind. Like I get that she's a talker and all, but dang, I just wanted 30 minutes without getting roped into some random deep convo about almond milk versus oat milk. Mutual respect and love, yes. That part. I'm not trying to avoid her, I just don't want to burn out being on 24/7. Appreciate the sanity check lol. Update. Hey y'all, just wanted to give a little update because wow, didn't expect that much support or empathy. Seriously, thank you. I legit thought I was going crazy for needing a half hour away from my girlfriend without being labeled a heartless robot. So here's what happened since, after the whole switchgate, things were a little frosty. She kept calling the bathroom my man cave and said, don't forget to light a candle for your me time, Chad. My name's not Chad, but good news, we actually talked it out. Like really talked, not, do raccoons feel sadness, talked. I told her I wasn't trying to shut her out, I just need to recharge sometimes or I start short-circuiting like a Walmart robot. She actually teared up, which made me feel like a jerk again, and said she didn't realize I felt that way and assumed I was avoiding her. We agreed on something simple, I get a little solo time each day, no guilt trips, and in return, I won't hide in the bathroom like I'm evading taxes. She even said she'd try not to start big philosophical debates while I'm mid-chew or gaming. Small wins. Also, she made a calendar reminder for silent chill time and added a raccoon emoji next to it. So, I think we're good. Anyway, appreciate y'all for letting me vent and making me feel less insane. Sometimes Reddit really is therapy. TLDR, we talked. She gets it now. I get solo time, she gets reassurance. Nobody broke up, and the switch is safe. Stories number 10. Aita for being so against making my siblings pack lunch for school that I won't make mine anymore. I, 16M, got so sick of the lunches at school in the last year. They're trash and nothing ever tastes good. Nothing's all that healthy either. So back in December I decided that after Christmas I'd make my own packed lunch in the mornings. My parents were cool with it at first and my dad thought it was good for me because he and mom only have basic cooking and meal prep skills, so he was happy to see someone in the household do stuff. I ended up with a really nice rotation of lunches. In April my mom told me I should make lunch for my siblings, 14, 13 and 11, too. I told her that was not happening and she should encourage them to make their own if they want something else. Mom told me it wasn't a big ask and my siblings deserved better food too. I told her they deserved better from her then but not me. The reason I was so against this is my siblings have no boundaries where I'm concerned. They think they can take my stuff, come into my room without knocking or asking, they can demand I walk them to friends' houses when mom and dad are busy and so many other annoying things. It's not like the worst thing ever but it means I don't want to do stuff for them. My dad acknowledges and works on this stuff with my siblings and he's punished them for taking stuff from me before. But my mom always dismisses it as oldest kid problems, she's the youngest in her family. Me and mom argued about it for weeks. Dad told her to stop putting it on me and he pointed out my siblings don't complain about the lunches. Mom said it wasn't even the point and she was mad Dad didn't back her up but also that I was digging in my heels so much and wouldn't listen to her as my mom. She said it was a respect thing. Dad got mom to back off for maybe 2 weeks but once school was out for summer she was telling me starting when school returns in August I better be prepared to make lunch for everyone. I told her it wasn't happening and she needed to accept it. She told me I couldn't use food purchased for the household if I'm going to be this selfish. I told her that was fine, I just won't make my lunch anymore and I'll go back to trash my school serves. Mom expected me to give in and make lunch for everyone and she called me a spoiled child for going this far with it. I told her I didn't care and she was not making me give in. Dad told me I could carry on making my lunches, but it led to another fight between him and mom saying I was behaving like a selfish brat and they raised me better than that. Stories number 11. AIO for losing my mind over my fiancé not helping out while I'm injured. So last Tuesday I, 23F, injured my neck and shoulder. I can't move my neck, my arm or my shoulder at all without excruciating pain. It's still causing issues a week later. I've been to the doctors and they told me all I can do is rest it, use heat packs and no lifting or strenuous exercise. I'm currently in a sling to keep it stable. So in light of this I asked my fiancé, 23M, for more help around the house. I'm usually the one doing the cleaning and tidying. The main jobs I need help with is the cat litter and laundry, as I can't bend down to clean the litter and I can't lift all the laundry. Our cat has been sick recently, so it's really important we check his litter and clean it every day to let our vet know of any issues. I've been trying to do it myself, but fiancé keeps telling me to stop and that he'd do it. The problem is that nothing has been done. He had 6 days off work, not a holiday, and promised he'd deal with the stack of household jobs that piled up. Nothing got done at all. No laundry, no cat litter, no tidying. I wasn't trying to nag at him and annoy him, so I went to do it myself and he got annoyed and told me to sit down, said that he'd handle it. But he never did. I'm sat here losing my mind cause me trying to do these jobs has made my shoulder worse, and there's nothing to show of it, cause he stopped me doing the jobs. I think the worst part is that he keeps complaining about the lack of clean laundry as if he didn't say for a week straight that he'd get it done. I have been asking him to do these jobs, especially the cat-related ones, but there's always an excuse or, I'll do it later, but it's just lead to me doing it anyway and annoying him by doing it myself. He's at work today, so I'm gonna just get this shit done. Every time I've brought up how I'm frustrated that he keeps saying he'll do these jobs and doesn't do them, he says I'm overreacting and that he'll get it done. Am I overreacting? I'm gonna do the jobs myself today anyway and hope that my shoulder doesn't get worse. But I just wanna know if I'm overreacting by losing my mind over this. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, Nor, I think you need to address it head on. I'm really frustrated that you said you would do the laundry and clean the cat litter during X time period, but you've yet to do that. The cat litter needs to be cleaned daily. This isn't something that can wait until another day. You've let me down now by promising to do things multiple times and failing to do so, which makes me stressed and makes me start to trust that you'll follow through on your word. How can we work together to fix this going forward? Reply, thank you. I've tried bringing it up multiple times but it hasn't gotten anywhere. I'll try it head on like you said. I can't keep feeling like this. It's making me feel like if I don't do the job then it won't get done. What happens if something more serious happens to me in the future and I'm bedbound, or if we have kids and it was an emergency surgery situation? It's not exactly reassuring. But thank you for the advice. Commenter 2, not overreacting. He promised and ghosted. That's not just lazy, it's disrespectful, especially when you're injured. Actions speak louder than words, and he's failing big time. Reply, yeah I know. It's so frustrating cause when he was living with his parents he'd do everything himself, without being asked. But since moving in together a year ago he just leaves me to do it all. He says it's cause when he's been working he doesn't want to come back and do more work. I get it, but he's an adult and needs to pick up the slack when I can't. Commenter 3, can I ask what your agreement was for household work and pet work? Why is everything on you? Reply, right now I'm not working cause of an injury, separate to this one I've got now. I'm getting help from employment support groups to help me find something. So in light of me not working I took on the majority of household chores. So I take care of the cat, hoover, cleaning bathroom and kitchen, laundry etc. The only jobs my fiancé has is cooking. He asked to do the cooking cause he enjoys it more than I do, and on weekends he'll do the garden and help me carry the shopping from our weekly shop. I also bring in my own money so I'm not dependent on him for money. He works in construction full time. I take care of the vet bills, and all our rent and utilities is split down the middle. When he earns more money he'll take care of more financially, but at the moment I earn more so I take care of all the food shopping and necessities myself. I've been trying to talk to him about the split in household labor when I'm working again, but he keeps saying that we'll cross that bridge when it comes. Not very reassuring given the current situation I'm in. OOP responds to a long comment regarding the hope that her fiancé could hear her and help out. Reply, thank you so much for saying all this. You're right that this injury will impact my life. This is the second time this exact injury has happened in the last 6 months. Doctors said that it very well could happen again, many times. I got lucky last time because everything was spotless before I got injured, this time not so much. We just moved house and have half our life packed in boxes still. I have been begging for help because I can't handle all this on my own on top of my other health issues, but it's been an uphill battle most times. Thing is, his words are so reassuring, but there's this huge disconnect between his words and his actions. He acknowledges and can see just how much pain I'm in, but then leaves everything for me to do anyway. OOP on her injury and if she is able to receive pain meds from her doctors. Reply, thank you. I've tried heat, ibuprofen, paracetamol, everything. But I will try that. The doctor offered me some strong pain meds for it but warned me that they're addictive. I can't risk it. They're the same pain meds that my mom got addicted to. It sucks, but weirdly the pain helps me not push myself, keeps me in check, if that makes sense. OOP needs to be firm with her fiancé, and if he is struggling with something. OOP, you're right, I think I went too far into kindness and went to babying without realizing. It's not just a wake-up call for him but for me as well. I'm pretty sure he has undiagnosed ADHD, as do I. He definitely struggles with time blindness and getting distracted at the drop of a hat. I'll talk to him, and try it your way, see how that goes. OOP should stop doing things for her fiancé. She can do her own and let her fiancé deal with his. Reply, another commenter suggested the same thing and I'm gonna do it. I'm cleaning up my own crap and that's it. As it stands, I take the majority of the financial load, the entirety of the physical load and all of the mental load of this house. Meanwhile his family sits there and says I don't do anything to help around the house. The irony, I'm only cleaning my own shit now, and the cats of course. Update 1. Here's a little update to my post yesterday. I spoke to my fiancé after he got back from work yesterday about how I've been feeling this past week since being injured. I told him I wasn't feeling very respected and that I didn't feel as if I had been given a chance to relax and heal in an environment that was filthy. It didn't go over well. Straight away he was on the defensive, saying he's not a slave, that he doesn't feel respected because I haven't been helping him with cleaning, while simultaneously saying that I can't help him clean because of my injury. I asked him why do I have to repeatedly ask for him to do one thing over and over again before it gets done. He said he just forgets. I told him that him constantly saying he'll get stuff done and then forgetting can feel manipulative. He agreed, then half an hour later denied ever agreeing. Anyways, I tried suggesting ways that he can remember to do the stuff I ask him to do, whether it's by leaving post-it notes, setting reminders on his phone, etc. He said he didn't want to do those things because he doesn't want to be treated like a baby. I told him that me constantly having to remind him over and over, me constantly telling him what he needs to do, is me babying him and I'm not doing it anymore. I told him he's an adult and needs to manage his own shit. If that means setting a reminder on your phone then so be it, cause I am not a fucking alarm clock, or a calendar or his damn mother. I told him if nothing changes I'm done, last chance. He did actually do some laundry, but he only did his laundry, the stuff he needed wanted. By the way, there was no apologies, no plan forward, no nothing. So I think he's gonna get demoted down to boyfriend, engagement isn't a thing anymore. And I'm gonna get my ducks in a row. Thank you all for the advice yesterday. It really is the little things that break the camel's back. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, he is a child, a manipulative and bratty child. He's not a slave. For doing the chores that you normally do. So does that mean that he normally sees you as his slave, since you normally do all that stuff as part of your regular day? Your boy is a lazy, selfish child. That he couldn't even have a rational discussion about this, nor acknowledge any responsibility speaks volumes about him as a partner. You aren't wrong to worry about your future with this baby. Do you really see him changing a diaper if he can't even scoop poop out of a litter box? Because I see him complaining that you aren't keeping up with the regular housework with your newborn, even though they aren't much work, they pretty much just sleep all day. Seriously, the boy reacted to your calm discussion by doing his own laundry. What a pathetic shit. He needs to go back home to mommy, so she can treat him like the selfish toddler he is forever. You need to seriously think about this relationship. As is, you are doomed to be miserable. Reply, agreed. I tried mentioning kids and what would happen then. If things go wrong and I hypothetically end up needing an emergency cesarean, what would happen? Would dirty diapers be left for weeks while I heal from major surgery? Would the house go into disarray because I'm unable to do it myself? He said it'd be different cause he'd have time off work and would step up. I said to him that last week he had time off work and couldn't step up for me now, with a much less serious issue. What on earth is making him think it'll be different down the line? My issue now may not be as serious as ones in the future, but the fact is that I'm still out of commission and can't do anything. I asked him what changed when he moved in with me because he used to clean everything without issue. This boy said, well, I cleaned because I wanted to, but now there's another person here. That's what I am, the fucking help. He doesn't want to clean anymore cause I'm here to do it for him. Fuck that. Commenter 2, oh, I'd be handing him eviction papers with that comment. Reply, I was so angry I had to step out and take a breather. That was when I told him I wasn't a maid, and he responded that he wasn't a slave. 10 minutes later when I cooled off and came back inside, I asked him about the slave comment. Did he mean now while I'm injured, because I can't help him without making it worse, or in general? He said in general. I told him that in general I'm the one doing the majority while he's at work. He said he knew that. So his slave comment was based on fuck all, absolutely nothing to back it up. When I told him I'm done acting like his mother, he said he acts like my dad, see, cause he goes out to work and earns the money for the family. I may not currently be in work, but I bring in more than him, way more than him. Our financial split is currently close to 65-35. The anger I feel just thinking about it is insane. Commenter 3, hand him his ring back. Tell him until things improve and stays that way without being told, the engagement is off and you won't be marrying him. Reply, that's the plan. I'm getting my ducks in a row as well anyway, so that I'm prepared for a lack of change. Honestly, I have zero faith, but I'd love to be proven wrong. Commenter 4, you didn't lose your mind, you found your clarity. He showed you exactly who he is when things weren't easy, and he failed the bare minimum test while you were injured. Doing only his laundry after that conversation. That's not forgetfulness, that's a statement. And it says, I don't actually care. Demotion earned. You're not his mom, maid, or rehab nurse. You're his partner, or supposed to be. Good on you for recognizing the difference. Reply, I just regret it taking me too long to notice. But when you look at things through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. Him doing his own laundry shows where his priorities lie, himself. He'll put himself first, while knowing I can't do my own laundry, while knowing I have no clean clothes and have been sat in the same clothes all week. Not a single care in world. Every time he's brought up how the laundry needs doing, it's only his stuff that is important, it's his clothes that have a time limit on being done. His reasoning for washing his clothes first is because he needs them for Sunday, as if we don't have a dryer that would dry them the same night. His still took priority. Not only that, he was bragging about how white he had managed to get his clothes, and that in the months I had been washing his whites they never got that bright. Rage, pure rage. OOP on her fiancé's behaviors that he took after his father. Reply, I know before we got together he was the same, we were friends a long time before we got together. About a year before we made it official he put distance between him and his dad, wanting to discover himself as a person and his own ideologies on life, because he realized he was just repeated what his dad was telling him. And he stuck by his change for almost 4 years until now. His dad's views on women is scary. BTW, his dad was convicted for domestic violence, spent 4 years in prison for setting my fiancé's mum on fire while she was tied up. She's fine now, alive and well, but is definitely scarred from it all. I made it perfectly clear to my fiancé that if he reverts back to who he was before we were done. He's apologized to many people who felt the effects of his previous ideologies, and genuinely was remorseful over all of it. It's just sad. And to add, he made this change before we ever thought about a relationship, while we were just friends and saw each other occasionally, so I don't think it was some grand scheme to pretend to be someone who I'd want, and is now showing that none of it was true. But it's sad. Yeah, his dad set his mum on fire. From what I've been told, it was like a sick game. He tied her to the bed while she was asleep and woke her up, set her on fire, and he immediately put her out with a fire extinguisher. Kinda like a show of, this is what I'm capable of, you need me, type shit. He's ex-military as well. He denies it to this day, but it is so damn hard for men to go to prison on domestic violence charges, especially a well-respected military man. And this was all 25 years ago too. She is fine now, divorced him after he got convicted. I'm not sure how bad the burns were, but they couldn't have been too bad as it's hardly noticeable. She has other scars from him throwing glass bottles at her and hitting her. She's been in a loving relationship for the last 15 years now, and she's happy. She hardly talks about it, and when she does you can hear the pain in her voice. Update 2. So this will probably be the last update for a while. I just want to say thank you for all the responses and advice on my last post. I am reading them all even if I'm not responding. On to the final update. I told him what I realized about him mirroring his dad's misogynistic views. He didn't freak out or get angry, which was a pleasant surprise. He said he understood, but he doesn't view me as a maid, doesn't view me as below him, and doesn't thinking he is bringing those ideas home. I told him if you hear the same bullshit day after day, then whether you agree with it or not, eventually it'll be brought home and seep into your personal life. He may not be actively thinking I'm a maid, but he's damn well treating me like one. He admitted that he didn't do any of the chores I asked because he was lazy and cared more that he had a day off work. I put it bluntly, he cared more about himself than me, more about his own desires than my birthday, more about his own energy than my injury. So yeah, he has been viewing himself as above me, that I'm less important than him. Apparently whenever his dad says this misogynistic crap my fiancé's view of him changes for the worst, and that negative change is what he's bringing home. But I told him that makes no sense considering he started acting and talking exactly like his dad. Anyway, the conversation last night was mainly just to make sure that things stay smooth sailing until all my ducks are in a row to leave. I have a job interview next week, and I'm planning on getting a place once I'm settled in work again. I have a few friends who I can ask to move in when I get a place to make it easier financially. I most likely won't update in a while, it'll probably be when I've got my own place and I'm settled. Thank you all for giving me such good advice, it definitely helped validate everything I was feeling. OOP explains more about her fiancé's family situation. Reply, sounds about right. In MD fiancé's case, he believed his dad was innocent and did nothing wrong to his mom, and that she had gotten her friends to lie in court to convict his dad. A few years ago he realized he was only believing his dad over his mom out of fear of him, being threatened by him and indoctrinated from a young age into religion. I feel for his mom, fiancé told her a fair few times that he didn't believe her, her face whenever he'd say it was heartbreaking. Years ago, before we even thought of getting together, he apologized to her, for it all, and went low contact with his dad. But even now, if we ever see his dad my fiancé leaves me to deal with the misogyny on my own, he will not stand up for me, or tell his dad to back off. Now he's working with him, and bringing all the bigotry back home. Starting to feel like these people can't change. Commenter 1, it's so validating to hear you clearly spell out how his actions are treating you like a maid, regardless of his intent. And good for you for seeing through the weak excuses. Focus on that interview and getting your own space. You deserve so much better than being an afterthought in your own home. Reply, thank you, I'm done being treated like a second-class citizen in my own home and I told him as much. He said he wasn't intending to do that, but the fact is even if his intentions were perfect, which they weren't anyway, he was still treating me like trash. He even admitted that he knew that doing his own laundry first was him being lazy and not wanting to do mine. I'm done. My energy is going to myself now. OOP on her future plans away from her now ex. Reply, I know. My plan includes getting a roommate once I'm working, job interview next week. One of my best friends lives about couple doors down from me and she's been wanting to move for a little while for a fresh start. We did live together a few years ago as well, so I plan on talking to her about us being roommates again. I hate ultimatums myself, but after you've tried so many times to change things the right way you end up with no choice. OOP on being cautious on taking pain meds for her injuries. Reply, thank you for the advice. My mother was an alcoholic. She hops between addictions, it's either pain meds, alcohol or serious drugs. It's a miracle she's still alive. Her best friend just died from alcoholism and she still drinks. She cut him off because she couldn't bear to see him kill himself, yet she insists on being in my life for me to watch her do it. I'm the same as you, I tried so hard to not be like my mother yet I ended up with my own addictions anyway, nothing as serious thankfully, but it could have gotten much worse. I'll speak to my DR about alternative meds to help and I'll get some Tiger Balm too, thanks. Stories number 12. My boyfriend wants to spend a week with a female friend while I am away. I, 27F, live with my boyfriend, 25M. We've been together for almost 2 years, started living together recently after being long distance for a while, and this summer I'll be abroad for a few weeks visiting my family. Recently, an issue came up and I'd really appreciate outside perspectives. Here's the situation, my boyfriend has a female friend, 26F, who is visiting our country to see another friend. Knowing she'd be around, he sent her a message about an event happening near our place, something like, you might be interested in this, type of thing. She replied asking if she could stay at our place for a week and then go to the event. I don't know if she's aware that I won't be home during this time. What I do know is that my boyfriend is totally fine with the idea and just answered that he will let her know. I honestly trust him. I don't think anything would happen. But I still find it uncomfortable that he's okay with having another woman stay over while I'm gone, and not just stay, but stay to go to an event together, just the two of them. That personally feels intimate, even if it's not something romantic. He, on the other hand, sees zero problem with it. He says he would be 100% fine if I did the same with a male friend, and even though we cannot say that would be the case until it happens, I feel like it could be true. Thing is, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that myself, not even if he said it was okay. To me, it feels like a gray area. Like it doesn't violate trust, but it tests emotional boundaries. My boyfriend is very close to his two sisters, and I wonder if that has shaped his comfort level being around women platonically. He sees it as, a friend is just a friend. But to me, sharing a home in your partner's absence adds a level of emotional intimacy that I wouldn't personally feel okay creating with someone of the opposite sex. We've talked about it, and he's willing to respect my wishes, but we're still not quite seeing eye to eye. And I'm trying to understand myself better. Why does this bother me so much when I trust him? For this reason I'm asking you guys an opinion. Thanks for reading. Edit. Wanted to add that they have been friends for 3 years and that I've met her a few times. She's nice but I don't really know her much. I wouldn't say we are friends, more acquaintances. Also she has a boyfriend if this info can be of any help for the context. Lastly, my boyfriend lied to my face about minor things a few times in the past, so even if I trust that he wouldn't cheat, I don't believe him when he says that he never had thoughts or feelings towards her. Edit 2. I didn't expect for this post to get this much attention. Me and my boyfriend are reading the comments together and talking about what we think. I'll try to come back with an update. It's been very interesting to read everyone's thoughts on this topic. Stories number 13. Aita for giving away my boyfriend Lord of the Rings collection items. I'm 32F, still on lockdown here in my home, and since I have nothing better to do, I have been decluttering like crazy. I live with my boyfriend of 8 years, who we will call Robert, 32M, who is also on lockdown. He has gone through many phases and I have supported everyone. However, he never sticks with them and often gets rid of whatever stuff he collected a few years later. Neither of us are very sentimental. For the past month, I have encouraged, although I will never nagged him, only reminded him like once a week, him to clean out his gaming room office area into 2 boxes, stuff of sell online and stuff to give away. I knew some of his stuff was valuable, but I have no clue what is and what isn't. One time he gave away a collectible sword from another phase that I could have sworn he paid a ton of money for, but then he told me he got it on eBay for $10. Like I really have no clue, and we keep our money separate so I never know and don't ask. Well, he set 2 huge garbage bags on the floor of his stuff in front of the bins Friday night. I asked him when he was going to sort them. He told me he was tired of thinking about it and sent me a list of everything he remembered putting in there and where to put what. I was a little frustrated, I won't lie, but I did it anyways without complaint. At the end of sorting I texted him a picture as well as a list of the stuff that he didn't tell me about, and then he texted back telling me where to put them. It's important to note 2 things. 1, he was very vague when it came to the items. Like, figurines, giveaway. Xbox games, sell, kind of deal. 2, the reason he didn't want to sort them is that he had a video game tournament or something similar Saturday morning. I told him that he could do it after and I didn't mind, but he said he would be too exhausted after and probably wouldn't do it until next week. I just wanted these bins gone so I stopped fighting it. Anyways, yesterday I took the specialized bins to donation. Today he comes in and I'm pricing items to sell. He then starts telling me how much money we can make on the LOTR bundle, and I was confused because his text said nothing about LOTR. I tell him I'm not sure what he's talking about, and he looks through the bin and realizes that I gave away all these custom LOTR figurines in almost every character. I felt awful and apologized, but he just yelled at me and told me I just ruined his trust in me. I showed him the texts that said that all the figurines needed to go, and he told me I should have known they were special and probably collector's items. We never mentioned finances other than the combined ones, and he has never mentioned anything about those figurines, and he literally got them in 2014 and we weren't even living together then. I called the donations place to try to get them back, but I haven't heard anything back. I feel bad but really feel like this is really his fault. He is currently not speaking to me. Aita. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA. I can sympathize with you both. I would be devastated if someone threw out any of my collectibles. But based on the texts he sent you, I can see why you did. It was an honest mistake, due to his vagueness. I can understand him being upset, but he needs to apologize for lashing out at you. Reply. The thing is that he didn't want them anymore, he just wanted to profit off them. Again, I understand that might be even more in some cases, but he kept saying I gave away a piece of him, which, his mourning is really unjustified in my eyes. I can understand him being mad at me for making him lose money, but the second he realized I wouldn't beat myself up for his mistake he started pulling the sentimental card, which he is openly not sentimental. He literally said, it was the only thing I was sentimental about and wanted it to go to a good home, and I clocked out of the convo. Anyways, sorry for the rant, had to let it out lol. Commenter 2. He's gaslighting you. Also, he is a grown man and can sort his own stuff out. He told you all that crap about being too tired after a video game tournament and not getting to it till next week because he was trying to manipulate you into doing it. He even had a list ready. A 32-year-old man who is more concerned about video games and collectibles toys than he is about his so is not a grown-up. NTA. Commenter 3. Okay, then I think either one. He didn't properly express that maybe these were the exception to the rule and now it's coming out, or more likely two, he's just upset that he lost out on a project and is lashing out. While yes, his only goals seem to be money, emotions have a funny way of attaching to things even if we don't see it. Either way, you're still NTA. Reply: I've tried to be as apologetic and understanding as possible. When we moved in, he literally threw away a signed shirt of my favorite band away because it looked dirty. I never wore it, but I haven't washed it because I didn't want the signatures to fade, and I mourned for a week, but I never yelled at him because it was an honest mistake. It still hurts my heart thinking about it sometimes. While I still feel awful and have done everything I can to try to retrieve them, he continues to yell at me and act like a petulant child. I understand emotion, but he's 32 and not 5. Commenter 5. Excuse me. I know it's not my place and I don't know the depth of your relationship like you two do, but based on what you've showed us here, I'd suggest you drop him. He destroyed and devalued something he knew you loved for his own reasons, and is acting beyond unreasonable when you followed his instructions. It looks like he wants to have as much control as possible over you and himself, and changes his story stance to get his way. This is called gaslighting, and is a common tactic of abusers. I'm not saying he is one, but I am saying that since this is not the first time he's been this outrageous, you need to evaluate if this is worth it. You are strong, and you will survive this. Reply: I will honestly say that I believe the shirt was a mistake. It's folded and does look dirty, and I had it in a box of collectibles instead of my own clothes because I was worried it would get lost in the move. He thought it was a ripped up shirt, got that way from the pit, that accidentally got in there. So, if he was honest, I do forgive him there. We have gone most of our relationship without incident. During quarantine he's told me he's felt depressed, which is why I've been trying to just relax and not get too mad. He's never had any mental health issues, but personally having depression myself, I know I cannot judge someone's coping process. I think he was just having time with the adjustment curve and his sleep schedule has been whacked out, which has not helped him. But regardless of depression or not, he doesn't get a free pass to act this way. Commenter 6. It was in a box of collectibles. Like that's a pretty clear indication it's special. He should have asked before he threw it away. To me that's a red flag. He doesn't care about what might be valuable to you. Commenter 7. Info: if he has his own gaming office room, why do you need him to clean it up or declutter it? Why can't he just manage his own room? Reply: he kept saying he needed to declutter it. He literally buys something every week and the room was getting into hoarding territory, and he said that he needed to clean it to make room for new things for literal months. 2. He brought stuff out of his room constantly and left stuff outside and then complained when I asked him to take it back because he didn't have enough room on his shelf. He would leave figurines on the kitchen counter and then get mad at if got food on it. I would take a box of his stuff back to his room on a weekly basis. He used to make me clean his gaming room because it started developing mold because he will not clean it. I stopped about a year ago but still have to bring stuff back to his room every week. He could have literally just told me he didn't want to give away anything and I wouldn't have cared, but he told me for months he needed to give away stuff. Update: last night he literally contacted our friend who is a paralegal and asked if he had a case to sue me for damages. The paralegal heard his story and read the texts between us and said he felt like he did not. That friend reached out to me and asked me what was happening. I was friends with the guy first. He then sent screenshots of my boyfriend calling me a bunch of names and other awful things. He has not talked to me at all, or even asked me to pay him back. He immediately went to sue me. When I confronted him about it, he said he was acting in depression and didn't actually mean anything by it but was just trying to control his anger. When I asked if he would like me to pay him, and that I would pay him a half since we are both at fault in some ways, he just kept screaming at me and calling me a bunch of names and said I would not only pay for all of it but I would pay extra for his emotional distress. Anyways, long story short, I broke up with him. He's currently having an even bigger rage fit and sent me a picture of him breaking some of his collectibles saying, if it makes you that happy, and I know he is gaslighting me. Thank you for everyone's support. Stories number 14. Aita for calling out my dad's abuse in front of the entire family. Last weekend, my husband, 36F, and I, 35F, took our kids, 5F and 14F, to a family barbecue. The people there were my aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins, and all the children on my mom and dad's side. This barbecue is very important in my family, as it's the only time both sides of our family are together. It is also the only time I see my immediate family. Growing up, my dad was verbally, emotionally, and physically abusive to me and my siblings, and as the oldest I often took the worst of it. My mom was never abused by him, and accused us of lying. This dynamic led to a bad relationship with my parents now. I only stay in contact now for my mother's sake, and because they had another kid who is still a minor, and I want to have a relationship with her. When we arrived to the barbecue, my dad immediately started ordering me around and being generally rude. I just avoided him, because I didn't want to ruin the gathering. About 2 hours in, a group of us decided to leave and catch up, leaving all the kids with the grandparents and great-grandparents. I was originally excited to go, but after learning my 2 kids would be left in my father's care, I declined. My dad started blowing up and accused me of hating him. I told him I would never leave my kids alone with him after how he treated me growing up. He said I was exaggerating, and he never really hurt me. He added, he was technically only watching one of my kids because my husband and I adopted my 14-year-old daughter when she was 13. That's when I snapped, all the years of anger and hurt, and everything he did poured out of me. In front of my entire family, I listed out everything he did, from pushing me so hard into the wall I got a concussion, to twisting my brother's arm so hard it broke. By the end a silence fell over my family. The joy was gone. Everyone stared at my dad in horror. I packed up and left with my husband and kids. It's been almost a week. My dad and mom are blowing up my phone, saying I scared my 15-year-old sister, and I'm a horrible person for telling everyone, it should have stayed private. Almost half of my family has cut him off, and I've received a lot of support. But I feel terrible. I might have put my mom and sister into more risk of being abused, and I'm no longer allowed to be in communication with either of them. My family has split in half. My kids are scared of their grandparents, which breaks my heart. Even some of my siblings think I took it too far. So, Aita for telling my entire family about my dad's abuse. Update 1, hello all. Thank you so much for all of your supportive comments. It means the world to know that I am not alone. I wanted to clear some things up and let you know all the changes that have occurred in the hours since making this post. 1. This story is not fake, this is my throwaway account that I share with my daughter and best friend, hence the varying posts. 2. I emailed everyone at the barbecue to apologize for making a scene in front of the little kids. I know it wasn't right to say such scary things in front of them. 3. I sent an email to everyone who supports me asking for them, especially those who live near, to frequently visit my mother and sister. I won't let him isolate them. 4. My husband and I tried to get custody of my sister 4 years ago. But we live states away, and my dad is a rich man with power in the courts, so we were denied. Yes, we've tried calling CPS since then, when she would call me crying, but there is not a lot of evidence because the abuse is only verbal this time. 5. We sat my 2 kids down separately and had age-appropriate conversations about what happened, which I've been avoiding. Our conversation with my 14-year-old was very emotional, as she was in the foster care system and experienced similar abuse with her biological family. 6. I've spent the last hour sobbing into my husband. I genuinely feel so hopeless and scared for my mom and sister. I still haven't figured out a way to get direct contact with either of them. Stories number 15. Influencer, marketing coworker lived a lie and it fell apart gloriously. Oh boy, I didn't know this sub existed till just now, and do I have a great coworker story for y'all. Years ago, I was hired to a marketing team for a medium-sized company, 1,000 plus employees, national footprint. I was about 29 years old, having been in corporate marketing for 4 or so years. I was still newish, but I knew enough from my experience in marketing. I was quickly introduced to the social media manager of the company, we'll call him Louis. Louis and I would be working very closely together. Now, Louis was an interesting case. He had never worked in marketing before, but was apparently a fairly popular social media influencer, which landed him the job, or so I was told. It quickly became apparent that not only did Louis not really know shit about marketing, but he also didn't seem to be doing anything ever. I was very often on the same calls meetings that Louis was supposed to be on, but he never was. Instead, the social media contracting company we had hired were. Which seemed odd. Throughout our time together, Louis very often bragged about his out-of-work business dealings as a social media influencer. Partying with celebs, making business dealings, etc., and he often had pictures to back it up. Our manager seemed enthralled with Louis, always asking for his latest stories and even asking to get in on some of his investments. It came crashing down one Monday morning. Our manager entered the office and told us to tell Louis to come see him the moment he was in. Louis, as usual, was a few hours late and was immediately fired. Our manager called us in to tell us, and we all sighed in relief. He started asking why we never said anything, and we explained that he always seemed so impressed with Louis that we were afraid to. Apparently, that previous weekend, Louis and our manager met with a potential business partner, and Louis started spouting some very unusual stories, like how our corporation bought out his social media influencing company. They didn't. Our manager was very confused and not happy with the situation. He was actually downright embarrassed and apologized to the other person attending. So, he started digging. And it wasn't hard to figure out that Louis has been lying the entire time, as he was very well known amongst business people in the area. He wasn't an influencer. He didn't have any business contracts. Those pictures with celebs. Louis crashed parties and would snap a selfie before being escorted out. He was banned from many offices because he kept trying to sneak into executives' offices. One local executive even had a restraining order against Louis. Louis also stole his work-provided laptop, and returned it weeks later, after being threatened with legal action, totally wiped clean. He had not done a drop of work in this roughly 6 months at the company. Instead he had pawned his entire workload off on the aforementioned contractor who just assumed that was what was supposed to be happening. Louis got on a plane the afternoon after he was fired and never returned to the state. Stories number 16. Aita for not attending a colleague's wedding and telling a lil lie as to why I'm not attending. My colleague is getting married in a few months and she has invited everyone in our team. She and I are the only Gen Z in the office and started around the same time, so we've always been closer to each other than everyone else. But I've always maintained boundaries and kept my personal life separate. The wedding is in her small town. To go I would have to get time off, fly, then shuttle and pay for accommodation and buy a gift. After the wedding I am traveling to watch Oasis and I then going to Japan. I need to save. I figured since I don't really want to go and I need to save my money and we're not that close, it's not worth my spending around $2,000 on this. I didn't tell her I didn't want to go, I just told her I have a lot going on that same week. She said that's okay and that was it. During my lunch break, I went to a cafe and my mom asked if I had told her and I texted my mom about what happened. I didn't know another colleague was standing behind me reading my messages. When I came back to the office, said colleague had told everyone in our team what I had texted my mom. I told her that very nosy and rude and none of her business. I apologized to the bride-to-be and told her I can't fork out that much money for her wedding when I have a lot going on in my life. She said it was chill and she gets it and we're good. It's everyone else that thinks I'm a wrong for not going. Stories number 17. My husband, 25M, and I, 23F, are having a baby. Is me asking for more than a week too much? I, 23F, am 15 weeks along. My husband and I have just started talking about all of the appointment schedules going on until the end of the year, baby due in November. We found out I would not be getting paid maternity leave, but he would be getting paid paternity leave for up to 4 weeks. I've already started saving up for when I will be out of work for 3 weeks after the baby. I work from home, and I didn't really think it would be a problem for him to help me out for 3 weeks while I healed, and then let me readjust for a week while I try to transition back to work. His response was that he would be happy to take a week off, but if he needed to he could take 2. His reason was that 2 weeks was $2,000 that he would already be missing out on and didn't feel comfortable losing anymore. A few key details before I get into the juicy part. We've been together for 5 years, just got married May 4th. Yes, we had issues before the baby and no, the baby was not planned. I have pre-existing health issues, on top of being diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum that have sent me to the ER 4 times already. He does new construction plumbing, so he's paid per project, but if he were to be working at the shop on a rainy day low inventory then he makes $15 an hour, which he would be getting paid during leave. We already have 3 ginormous dogs that I take care of 80% of the time on top of all vet visits, grooming. I feel that these are important tidbits so that you can better understand where I'm coming from. All I could do in response was sit there and cry. It hit me that I would honestly be doing this alone. I had already come to terms that once he went back to work, I wouldn't get much help from him since he does work a job that is manual labor, and he already is exhausted without having a baby around. I told him that at this point, I'd rather him just take the day off for the birth and I'd handle the rest. I explained that a week was hardly anything and if I was expected to be okay with just that, then I'd rather take nothing. I've already been looking around in care.com and Rover to find someone to help with the baby and the dogs. I don't have anyone else but him, since both of our parents work and we don't have any other family near us. I now feel selfish because he got upset by what I said and he said, the baby isn't even here yet, and I already feel like a deadbeat. I can't find anything online that says what's if a week is enough or not, and now I feel horrible because I can't get past the emotional part of this situation. Someone tell me I'm wrong or something because I don't really know what to think anymore. Edit. A few things I feel like I need to point out since some of you are a bit on the cranky side. Yes, we use protection, hence, surprise baby. I live in FL, maternity leave is not mandatory for employers. I could have done FMLA, but because I don't use my employer's insurance, it's not offered to me nor have I paid into it to use it. My main reason for this post was to get a viewpoint of all sides on this matter. It's our first child and we had already discussed of children later on in life. I never planned to get pregnant. I promise the baby and I are being monitored by my OB and my cardiologist. Comments. Commenter 1. Setting aside your husband, if you have congenital heart disease, you need to be talking to a cardiologist about the risks of pregnancy. You may end up needing way more than 2 weeks off before and after the birth. Unfortunately, those of us with lifelong health issues don't always have bodies that play ball with our financial necessities such as permitted mat and sick leave, so I think you need a safety net just in case, but your husband should be contributing to this fund too. Commenter 2, I'm going to tag into this one. Depending on your condition OP, you might be heading to the OR before the baby is ready to be born. Labor is hell on your heart, but pregnancy is no joke either. I speak from experience that open heart surgery takes 3 months off of work to recover from. I did it last year and I wasn't recovering from a pregnancy or trying to care for a newborn. And, if you have to have that surgery, you won't be able to care for the baby at all. You wouldn't be able to pick them up for 6 weeks minimum. When the sternum is cracked, it can't be immobilized to fuse together. You have to heal the bone while it is in motion every single day. If you lift more than 5 pounds per arm, it is agony. And if you do it anyway, your sternum could heal wrong. I'm not trying to scare you OP, but you need to have contingencies in place. You may need a full-time caregiver for 6 to 12 weeks. And you won't be up to 100% for over 6 months. When I read that you have a congenital condition going into this, my heart dropped. Make sure you are under the care of your cardiologist every step of the way. Commenter 3, if he's getting paid parental leave, why the hell would him being at work matter? Wouldn't he be getting the same amount of money? Also, this situation is so fucked and I'm so sorry. Having to go back to work, even WFH, 3 weeks after giving birth just sounds so cruel. Has your husband done any research on birth and newborns? He seems to think that it's all going to be much easier than it's going to be. Reply, technically his pay is based on per project, which is per house. They range from $800 to $1,600. In 2 weeks' time, he can technically have up to 5 done, which is more than his hourly pay. Although, based off his comment, he'd technically be missing out on $800 if you were to take those 2 weeks off. It's honestly not my preferred plan, but with the economy I couldn't afford any longer. I've explained to him what a vajayjay birth and a C-section entail, along with the responsibilities of having a newborn. I've bought him books, sent him videos, but there's not much more I can do to make it black and white for him. Commenter 4, okay, what about just telling him that you need him there? How is that alone not getting him to drop everything? There's been a lot of studies on paternal leave and I'm pretty sure if you do a quick search you can find lots of research showing that it's much more beneficial for the dad, child and mom for dad to take more than 2 weeks off when the baby is born. You still have some time, can you maybe save the $800 before the baby comes? Reply, I told him I would need more than a week and he threw 2 at me, lol. Truthfully, I wish we were both in the position to take off at least 6 weeks, because my pregnancy is already high risk with my heart condition. This will probably be our only one and I don't want either of us to miss out on anything. It's so frustrating because he didn't grow up with a father, so he always says that he turned out just fine. I've already got close to $1,000 in savings for the baby. But we keep everything separate. I plan on having a lot more by the time the baby comes just in case we need a cushion for whatever reason. Update. Some of you got but heard about the word vajayjay and it makes me laugh out loud. Nonetheless, I hope you have a lifetime of cold pillows. I got a lot of questions, comments about having an abortion and truthfully, it's not for me. I have nothing against abortions, I had already grown an attachment to my baby. I showed my husband the post and comments, it was all truly eye-opening for us both. We had some really hard conversations and some of the most groundbreaking talks. We both ended up in therapy and in couples therapy. We still have a long way to go, but I feel like I'm living in a dream now. My job ended up paying for 6 weeks of maternity leave. My husband took 2 weeks off and his job gave him a baby bonus, on top of the end-of-year bonus. They were absolutely incredible during the journey. My pregnancy was absolutely horrible. My morning sickness sent me to the hospital 7 times, I had 2 IVs weekly, anemia, and PUPPS, in the middle of summer. I ended up on bed rest in October and I had her in November. She had a few complications that we faced and we ended up at a high-risk doctor, but the stars aligned and all of her issues were resolved by the time she was born. I labored for 36 hours and ended up having a C-section due to her heart rate dropping. Out of everything, that was the moment I was terrified. My C-section was absolutely traumatizing. I remember there were doctors everywhere, asking me questions and asking me if I was feeling anything. Every few minutes after they had given me numbing through my epidural, I kept getting my feeling back. It was horrible feeling them cut and pulling and the burning pain. I swear, as soon as they pulled her out and she started screaming, it was the most peaceful I'd ever felt. The first 2 weeks with her was everything I had hoped and dreamed. My husband was incredible and took care of everything. I had never felt so loved in my entire life. He helped me do everything and was amazing at night watch. We are now officially 7 months in and I swear life couldn't be better. I still work from home and she's with me while I work. She's incredibly smart and we have a great routine together. She has 4 teeth, she's standing on her own and crawling. We are so close to saying mama. I never knew I could love someone as much as I do her, and I'm grateful that she's mine. I think regardless, I'd still have made the same decision to keep her. I know it would have been harder and a lot scarier. I've hated my life for as long as I can remember for one reason or another, but now I feel like I have an actual purpose and she came at the most perfect time. I realize that not all stories are the same and I hope that I don't seem insensitive, but I figured an update is an update, good or bad. If you ended up reading this, which I doubt anyone will, thank you for the time. It means the world to me. 3 comments. Commenter 1. Glad that it worked out and you have a beautiful baby and supportive husband. I gasped when I read that you had PUPPP on top of everything else. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, the itchiness was maddening for me. I had to be induced because I wasn't sleeping at all near the end. Reply, thank you so much. Oh my gosh yes, I had no idea that was even a freaking thing until I woke up itching one morning and it didn't stop until I gave birth. I keep saying this, but someone should really write a book about things that people actually don't tell you when you get pregnant. Not to scare anyone but I guess just as a formality. I read all the baby and pregnancy books and not one did they warn you about any of the oddities of pregnancy. I could only imagine how absolutely miserable you had to be for them to induce you. We made it though mama. Commenter 2. Happy to hear everything worked out, wow what a roller coaster that must have been. I'm 30 and this makes me not want to have kids, but regardless, did any of the advice help you out? I think very low of the advice given at this sub BC. It's filled with single people and people who just hate couples and every solution is to break up. Reply, oh yes, I'm never having another one, but she was absolutely all worth it. I'll be honest, I didn't have a lot to live for and was absolutely hating my life. She saved me and I'm a better person because of her. But it wasn't fun and the only part one really miss are the kicks. Truthfully, a lot of it was pretty hurtful. I get it though, from an outside standpoint it didn't look great and I absolutely did not my husband the credit he deserved. There were a few that I saved specifically that were neutral and were really good advice in regards to speaking to my husband about my concerns. And a lot of super nice people messaged me instead of commenting. It was my first time posting on Reddit and I'll not make the same mistake twice lol. Commenter 3. Good on you. I'm so proud of you both for being open and willing to adjust. Reply, thank you so much. It was absolutely the best decision we could have made. Stories number 18. Aita for leaving my family dinner after slapping my cousin. So for context I'm 24F and my whole life my cousin, we will call H, has made snarky comments on me like about my appearance. For E.G. I went to my other cousin's wedding H's sister and wore a blue dress which all the bridesmaids wore as I was one and the makeup we were all told to wear. H was the maid of honor and when we were all ready she said, you'd all look beautiful expect, me, your makeup just won't look good in our photos, even though we all had the same makeup. Anyways at our family dinner where our whole family comes to I was expecting her to make a comment on me again as she does every time I see her. So at the family dinner we get 2 tables, one for kids, where I think she should sit, and one for the adults. So we were all ordering and she was sat next to me. She whispered in my ear, you'd look horrible, have you gained weight? I ignored her but was starting to get mad till she whispered again, even look at your sister, she looks as horrible as you. She said that about my younger sister who's 10. That's when I snapped, slapping her straight across the face shouting, don't fucking talk about my sister that way. Now the family who sat next to us who heard agreed with me and says H should have never said that about me or my sister and are trying to tell the others in our family but they agree with H saying even if she did say that I shouldn't have slapped her. Stories number 19. Aita for showing my skeleton in the closet. July 31st, 2024. Edit. Sorry I'm a bit high right now so BF is helping me edit and I'm new to Reddit and didn't put ages and the like. I am F32, he is M38, SIL is F56, and StepMIL is F69. How do I put this? My SIL thinks I am obnoxious. She's my BF's eldest sibling and very protective of her baby, and also very religious so her baby dating pantsuit wearing, neon colored hair having, bisexual atheist feminist with 2 moms was a lot for her to take in. Over the 3 years my BF and I have been together, she has only been more vocal about it. It did first start with small snarky comments but now it's full in-your-face criticism. It got worse when he moved in with me as we aren't married. Well, one of her longest running jabs is that I look scary but am just mild and boring whilst I try to cosplay as edgy. Fair play to her for sewing in cosplay. Gold star. She's evolving, unless I have any skeletons in my closet. I am a happy person and have little issues with laughing at myself, so I always just laugh it off when she says she will find my skeletons in my closet. It was my birthday recently, so we have everyone over, and when my BF went out for decorations he returned with a plastic skeleton and held it up with that "we're so immature but you're in, right?" look on his face and said, "You thinking what I'm thinking?" And fuck me, I was. This cheeky asshole was giving me an offer I couldn't refuse, and I laughed and said, "You son of Sith, I'm a FNG in," so we set the trap. Well, surely enough, SIL was busy telling anyone who would listen that we're unmarried, sleeping in the same bed, I smoke weed, she could smell it, the usual, and I ignored her, and then she went on about me cosplaying as edgy and not being an authentic person, and someday she will find my skeletons in my closet. My BF started to laugh and I said, "Oh, you didn't notice?" and walked her to our coat closet near the front door and opened it. There was Skeletor the skeleton propped up against the corner. We had a good laugh and my BL said, "Fucking hell, you finally found it," and when I turned to her, it went from a good-natured laugh to a nightmare. She was red in the face, silent, and crying. She slapped me and left without a word. I was stunned by the slap and not even prepared to deal with Step MIL, who asked me if I was happy mocking the woman who raised my BF and that I'm such a disrespectful ass, but this was a new low. She and a few others started telling me how shitty I was for embarrassing SIL and mocking her in front of everyone. The party naturally died from the party foul wounds and was DOA, so most everyone left within THR hour. BF has been trying to cheer me up and took me to see Deadpool and got me takeaway so we can binge watch our show and veg out, but Sale texted me a paragraph about how she's tried with me, but I am determined to be a morally corrupt violation of her family, and she is devastated that I hate her enough to make a mockery of her. I replied back an apology that I hurt her, and I genuinely thought it was just a laugh we could share, and offered to take her to lunch to talk it out. She said she was disinterested in dealing with me further, and when my BF wised up and leaves me, she will celebrate. There are texts from others and group chats where I am being torn apart as vicious and malicious, and my mind is boggled. I know there are 100% times that when a person says it's just a joke that they are astronomically the AH. So Aita. Update 1, Aita for showing my SAL my skeleton in the closet. SAL took to social media and made a post and tagged me. It was a novel long, but the short of it is that I am a hateful woman who doesn't respect parental figures, and it must be because I am an orphan. According to post, I am on drugs and lured her baby onto them too. I've turned him against God and his family. My man damn near blew the lid off our home when he saw it, as he is on FB more than me. He called her and demanded he take it down. The damage was pretty much done. Family out the woodwork are sending me rehab center links, church counseling links, sex addiction help, and my personal favorite is before me and after me photo comparisons, where before me is a photo of him in church with his family at a Mother's Day service, and after is a snap of him at a concert with his tattoos showing, drinking and clearly drunk. Some people even came to the house to stage an intervention. My guy only started to shout and make them leave our home when I was referred to as a classless hussy and shameless slut. Let me transparent, we use THC and weed, but it's legal here and we have jobs and maintain a good life. The after me photo is not actually when we were dating, it was beforehand. And I am not an orphan. SIL is married to an alcoholic who just recently got hammered, ABD wrecked their car, then got arrested for being belligerent with the police and refusing to leave after his car was towed. All over some freaking dummy. Oh, and I am a shameless slut, so that one felt like a compliment. So I talked with him about limiting contact and he got upset. He loves his family, and despite this freak show, he loves his sister. He got stressed out and started to have a panic attack. I helped him recenter, got him water and held him until he was calm again, and he asked we give it a bit of time to die down and he will try to talk sense into SIL. So we're giving it fucking time. I'm not mad at him, I know this is hard for him, but this is crap, and I am being bombarded with texts and even emails telling me I am some demon woman who is shooting up my soul, who hates Christians, and none of that is even true. It's just a lot and I am hating every moment. Update 2, Aita for showing my SIL my skeleton in the closet. Well, I am out of emotional fucking real estate here, but here goes everything. I have a feeling this isn't going to be short, so TLDR, SIL is depressed and self-harming after we cut her out, and BF is clearly hurting. I guess I have to start naming people, as this is becoming something of a fucking saga. My BF, Dean, I am a Supernatural fan, so sue me LOL, sat me down a few days after my last post. He was very, very calm, and that was my first sign that I needed to gird my loins because I was in for a doozy. For background, generally, I am the calm, logically lead one while he is passionate and deep feeling. In this, we became polar opposites of that norm. He looked me right in the eye and asked me point blank, no bullshit, how this was all affecting me. Every time he would ask before, I just couldn't bring myself to tell him how upsetting it all was, since I was the put together one all the time, but this time, because he was so calm and direct, I just broke down. Nightmare isn't the word. It was hell. We live around what is known as a small big city, meaning it's big sure, but once you get in certain circles you find that everyone knows you and you know most everyone or at least someone who knows them. So, in a way, it can be like a small town. Our state is generally religious outside our city. So rumors spread. With my SILs, I will call her Ren going forward, social media attacks on me, it was the scuttlebutt everyone craved. Some people sided with her, not most, but enough. I was getting dirty looks, rude treatment, my hairstylist is their cousin and she told me she can't work on my hair anymore until this is resolved, as she was getting pressure from the family, i.e. Ren and Step Mil, Penny. It was schoolyard and immature, but it was enough to make me feel bad. I got done saying all this to Dean, and he said, okay then, we will block them. So matter of fact. I knew it was a hard thing to decide on for him, as he loves the shit out of his family and they are HIW world, so I pushed back at the idea, saying as much and that I couldn't ever stand in the way of him and his whole family. I started to cry harder, and he had to sit me down and get me some wine and water and blanket burrito-ed me and hugged me until I could talk again. I said I couldn't live with myself knowing I made him choose me over his family, and he said I hadn't made him, they did. We then started talking logistics because he wasn't budging. I was sad the whole time, because I am usually tough and have a don't give a shit attitude, but he is so close to them and I am not overly close with most of my own family. I hated taking something so rare and beautiful away from him, my fault or no. We cut them off. Blocked almost everyone after sending a text what was happening and why. And worse, it was Ren's birthday party the next day. I took my guy to a festival happening in the city so he wouldn't have to think about it, and we were out until 2 or 3 the next morning. When we got home, our neighbor said we had a lot of people coming to knock on our door. 1 or 2 at a time. And a couple then asked our neighbors if we were home. Later, when I was making lunch, the police came by for a wellness check. They said his mother is concerned about him. Him. Not me. Just him. Dean said coldly that his mother is dead, and if his father's wife sent them, he wanted it on record that they were not in touch and he wanted no contact. Penny was at our door by dinner. Some of this was before I got into the room because I was cooking, but Dean told me he heard a knock and thought it was the neighbors and opened without looking. Ren was standing there, eyes red as if she had been crying. She asked to come in, and he said no, so she started to cry, loudly, and I heard it and came to see what the fuss was. She had fallen into him sobbing and wailing, asking what she did that was so wrong that he's treating her like this. That he's her baby, and she loves him, but he is so cold and mean to her now and all that bullshit. I was angry, but I saw his face, he was tearing up and pushed her away, asking her to leave. That's when she saw me. She was sobbing an apology like, I am so sorry if I ever made you feel like you're not family. You won. Please don't take my baby from us. She went on to say if this is about their religion then they won't pray around me and stuff like that, and when she finally stopped rambling I said it was not about their religion. I am atheist, sure, that's my choice. But I don't mind people having faith in something. I actually somewhat envy people who do, as I just don't and probably can't. I told her it was about my treatment from her and others in the family. That I was cast as the villain for almost 3 fucking years and I was prepared to grin and bear our whole natural lives, but then she gets nastier with me with the gossip mill, and above all that, she put hands on me. She had the absolute gumption, gal, to slap me, and the family collectively decided to let that slide. I won't tolerate physical abuse. I had an abusive ex. I won't be accepting that. Ever. Honestly, that was the singular thing that made me realize 2 things. She will never respect or care about me, and more, that I can never respect her ever from that moment on. It all just flooded out me. I never yelled. I was just firm and direct about it. This is what happened. This is the hurt you did, and here are the consequences. She practically collapsed in our home wailing by the time I finished, and she would interject, okay, you hate me, I get it, or, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, and things like that. I asked Dean to get her water, and he did. When he returned and handed her the glass, he said she should drink something, and she shook her head and said that she couldn't. We asked her if she hurt herself getting to the ground, and she just got really calm and wiped her eyes and had this weird frown, tears still streaming down. She told us that she came to apologize, and she apologized, but we've been clear we don't want anything to do with her or the family, and that breaks her heart. She can't eat or drink anymore because life is not worth living knowing Dean hates her. Dean shook his head but said nothing other than, don't mistreat yourself like that. That's not fair. Then she just walked through the door and said that I won, he's mine, and to please take care of him for her. The moment the door closed, Dean started to cry. I tried to comfort him, but he pulled away. He said he isn't mad at me or anything, but that was just a lot, and he feels like shit. He told me he knew she was being manipulative, but he almost wanted to take her apology because it's just been so hard, and he knows she will spin this somehow to make us look as callous and hateful as possible, and his father would be ashamed of him. A week goes by, and Dean has cheered up a bit. He apologized to me for crying, to which I said he never has to apologize to me for his feelings or crying or anything like that, and that I am proud of him for being rational in an entirely irrational moment. He is making friends and picking up hobbies where family events would be like instead of mass and Sunday dinner. He goes to shoot hoops with a community group. He signed up for a patch on the community garden, and he's been taking the time he would usually take to hang out with Penny and help around the house to volunteer at the animal shelter down the way from our home. He came home this past Monday in a bad mood. He was honest that he was upset and would be bad company, so he needed space, so I obliged and went out with a friend. When I came home, he asked me to sit down and said he logged into social media, and a friend messaged him a post that Penny made about Ren asking for prayers. Ren was severely depressed and had quit doing much of anything according to the post, and she was suffering from the heartbreak of her life, but they didn't explain what that was. This friend of Dean's comment if there is anything we can all do, and Penny replied, pray, and nothing more. Yesterday rolls around and Teddy calls. He's not blocked or cut off because he's been having our backs, to tell us Ren is in the hospital as she tried to take all of her meds at once. She's been asking for Dean. I told him that she's in the hospital, and he can go to her if she wants, and I even will go with him or not depending on what he tells me he needed, but he refused to go. He's been blue ever since, and I'm worried. Ren is practically a mother to him, so I know it's hard. I feel like shit because this is really all because I agreed to some stupid joke to fire back at hers. Normally, I would just say these are manipulation tactics, but to down pills out of spite is some next level commitment to the bit, and I feel like I've really shattered my man's world. I don't know if I need to give him time, or sit him down right now, or up our therapy, or take him on a vacation, or fucking what. He's my person. I hurt when he hurts. And we're fucking hurting right now. Update 3, Aita for showing my skeleton in the closet. We've endured a lot from his family at this point. From them calling into my job to complain about me, to the police coming by because I am abusing him. I won't make this another War and Peace manuscript by typing all that happened out, but it's been a lot. Dean got a job elsewhere in the state. It's been a roller coaster for him. We talked it out and he accepted. He doesn't want to be near family anymore. Well, that Medusa of a woman found out and Teddy told us she's throwing a fit. So I just knew she would come around soon. I told Dean this and he looked at me and said, "You think so?" And I said I know so. So he came home that next day with more skeletons. They are propped up around the porch, in the yard, and next to the garage. They have names. He named them Boney Stark, Marrow Monroe, Tibia Turner. He's given them backstories. The man has lost his mind, lol. Sure enough, she showed up. We have a ring cam now, so we both got alerts and saw her coming. He got up and said he would take care of it, so I just watched the cam and stayed in bed. He tells her to leave and she demanded to know why he was moving. She was blaming it on me, making it seem like I bullied him into the job and he needs to come to his senses and leave me. He refused. So she slapped him. Twice. Then started to cuss at him, hitting him with her fists, and he backed up and pushed her away. Then she falls and starts to scream that he's hit her and that he's a monster and she's calling for help. She woke up the whole neighborhood with her bullshit. Dean was doing his best to stay calm but opened the door and told me to call the police. And I watched her smugly say that if he dares, she will tell them that he and I attacked her. And shows him her arm, and says she had the injuries, and no one will believe him. He just stared at her and went inside. She went nuts and threw Boney Stark into the rosebushes. Then, she sat on our porch just fucking chilling until the police arrived. She threw on the waterworks the moment the cop car pulled in. She actually had gotten out of the chair meant for Boney, laid down on the stairs and started to cry. Police sorted this pretty quickly because as Oscar-worthy of a performance she gave, we had footage. It was my turn to be smug. I cast it on our large TV for all to see. She cussed me out saying I was a bitch and a loser, a harpy who charmed her baby and lunged for me. Dean got in the way and told her to get the fuck out of our house and that she's disgusting and manipulative. He then said, "I'm not your baby. And you know what? Thank you. Thank you for showing me who you are. Now I can't wait to get away from you." Good job. I think she figured it all out in that moment because this time when she cried, I believed her. She just sobbed and the cops took her outside. We had her legally removed and put in a request for a restraining order. We currently have a temporary one for the case to be reviewed, but it expires after we move, so now we are just being careful about our information. Dean was really sad the first few days but now is excited. He keeps talking about the city we are moving to. It's very fun, odd, and has a lot of live music and events. I know he will mourn it once it catches up with him, and he's keeping busy to not think about it too much, but it is good to see him smile. I missed that. The family tried harassing us, but he would forward the footage and tell them if they don't want him to go fully NC to cut it out and keep her under control. Sometimes it makes him cry and other times it just makes him mad. I've asked if he wanted me to take over some of this and he says no. He just wants us to ride this out, pack up, and get settled in the city. Oh, and the skeletons are coming with us. Update 4, Aita for showing my skeleton in the closet. Turns out when you threaten to go no contact and follow through, tunes change. Sal can't contact us due to a restraining order, so she tried to lean on other members of the family. No one really buckled under that pressure aside from a stray mishap here or there, but we would be quick to block. Dean has been very protective since everything happened and we've since moved, and yes, we brought the skeletons and we have more now. It was fine all until Smil contacted me directly asking me not to talk to Dean yet, but she is worried this has gone on too long. Sil had thought herself pregnant back in July, but it turned out not to be the case. But since then she has been insistent she is having a baby with Smil and some other members of the family. Dean and I were not aware of this. Sil then, according to Smil, accidentally called Dean her son in front of the extended family after we moved. This has put it in her head that this might be possible. I don't know quite what to do. I haven't told Dean about this yet because it's ridiculous and sounds too much like a soap opera or something. And he's finally in a good place in staying KO contact. We are closer to my family, not related but the closest I've got to family really, and we've had a full social calendar since we've moved. I told a friend about this and she says I have to talk to Dean about this so he's not blindsided later, and I would normally agree, but I hate that this woman has been on our minds so much of the time all the time and don't want her to continue to ruin what we have. I'm going myself the weekend to figure out if I will tell him or not. In the meantime I got him a new skeleton named Manfred from his favorite video game, hopefully to keep things light. Update 5, Aita for showing my skeleton in the closet. So Dean and I have moved. I started a new job here and Dean's been thriving in his. Since my last post it's been pretty quiet. I told Dean about the weird slip-up his sister said calling him her son. He didn't really react at all at first. About a month later, as we are moving, he packs our files and important documents and he went through them. He asked me if I thought it was possible and I just said I didn't really know. We made the conclusion over time that it could be true and it could simply not be true by either way. The woman he calls his mother remains just that and he keeps her memory. Whatever his sister is biologically doesn't matter. He's cut off most of his family, and we've started to build a life here in our new city. Teddy visits sometimes but it's mostly just me and Dean. We recently got engaged after we adopted a dog and he joked that now that we have a child, I should make an honest man out of him. It's a lot happening, but after we had our fun with skeletons at our new place, we literally dress them for every odd holiday or legit holiday, doesn't matter to us. And added some with name tags and costumes. It's safe to say this is just tradition now. Last month, Teddy told us that Dean's sister punched their stepmother in the face. We don't know why, but we do know charges are being pressed. I guess it's good we got away when we did. So I guess this is my last update. Thanks for letting me vent about this insanity. Send me any ideas you have for skeleton names. We have more in the basement but don't have names for them. Stories number 20. Aita for snapping at my mom and said that I have no parents if she asked me to pay for the debt she owed people for my own upbringing. So I, F26, am the eldest daughter, and I only have one younger sister, F22. Let's set the scenario. Our parents was divorced when I was in grade 6. Both kids stayed with mom. Dad still get visitation rights. Dad then moved to another island for work and never came visit even once after I was in grade 7. Work stuff, or that's what I thought, so my young brain kinda understood. Mom struggled to provide for us by herself until I graduated high school. Dad didn't give any support financially or morally, whatsoever. I moved to another country for uni because I got scholarship. Sis was a bit upset BCS she had to stay back with mom and had no one to confide to at home now that I went away. Cut to me being in uni in another country. Dad started to contact me again out of nowhere. Asked to meet. Mom, knowing that Dad decided to reappear in our lives, wanted Dad to pay her the total amount of child support that he owed her for bringing up me and my sis. Reason? She was borrowing money from loan sharks, perhaps it's the closest thing I could think of in English, for the kids, but she didn't want to talk with him directly. She asked me to relay the message between her and Dad. Dad said he had no money, well, he has his new family to take care of and tbh my country's minimum wage sucks. Cut to last year. My mom remarried with a guy. Debts were still piling up. Guy said mom need to stop working if they are going to be married. Mom agreed and therefore has no income to pay off the debt. Not long after, I got my first job. Work environment is good. Salary is good. Me and sis have been very close, but sis's relationship with mom and dad are both still strained. Sis got into an accident and I offered to take care of her housing expenses and for her to rent a place near her campus so she doesn't have to commute that far, especially in the middle of the night. Meanwhile, mom still pestered me about dad, asking me to keep pushing him to pay for the debt. BC, the deadline is approaching. She also doesn't want to burden her new husband because it's not his debt. Mom then complained about the debt to me and asking me on how she should pay the debt now that she doesn't have income. I said it's not my responsibility to pay for my own upbringing, it's literally mom and dad's job as parents to provide. She said, well then if you're going to take sis out of this house, you'll have to help with it because I can't afford renting another place for her. I said, fine, I'll support her housing, I don't mind, but then she changed her mind and said that she'll stop supporting her financially altogether. Not even tuition or transport fees. I was like but okay. I mean, lucky me, I am able to. Then mom, softly and subtly, asked to borrow money from me to pay for the debts. I snapped and I said that once again, it's not my responsibility to pay for my own upbringing, because if I end up paying for it, I basically have no parents because I technically have just been raising myself. Edit for additional context. No, I don't think what my dad did was okay and I haven't forgiven him since. He hurt our family, especially my sister and my mom, too much. Yes, I do think he should pay for the child support. I even told the both of them that I would take care of my sister's expenses, all of it, so the two of them could settle with a payment system or something that works for them without having to worry about any other things, which I ended up doing anyway. Dad has started to pay in installments to mom, but only a couple of times. Dad did say that he would rather pay for the support directly to my and my sister for what we actually need rather than to mom because he doesn't know what mom does with that money, and I told him off and to settle the debt as soon as possible so they don't have to deal with each other again and live their happy lives away from each other. I also told him that if he thinks that way, then pay whatever share he wants to give me to mom because I'd rather the debt be settled first and foremost. Yes, I know mom sacrificed a lot for me and my sister, but I tried to also reason with her before I finally snapped, basically saying that I would ease the burden of paying for my sister, so she could use the money that was supposed to go to her to pay for the debt while I also try to figure out what's going on with dad, as mentioned previously about the arrangement, but she said, it doesn't work that way, so I'm not sure what else do I have to do to help. Yes, I do believe that she deserved to take a break and rest because she has been doing a lot for the three of us, but why did she decide to quit knowing that she wouldn't have any other ways to get income to pay for her debt and she doesn't want her new husband to pay? Sure, maybe it's because she expected dad to pay for it, but she didn't know that he would do that and how much would he be able to pay because they didn't talk. Yes, I am paying for my sister fully as of now, and I also live off of my own finances since I went to college. Stories number 21. My girlfriend's physicality makes me uncomfortable. I don't know how this is going to go over, no one in my real life would get this at all, so here goes. My GF, F32, and me, M23, have been dating for about 2 years now, living together for 1. We both work good jobs, have good social circles, it's all very ideal, dreamlike even. For a bit of rough context, I am quite tall but have never been strong in any sense. I'm a complete string bean, never lift weights, anything like that. My GF is the opposite, very short but strong. Goes to the gym, and is just naturally built very thick. Big thighs, quads, biceps. Whole deal. The first year was really good. When we moved and things started to get interesting. It was little things at first. I still remember how funny she found the first time we were play wrestling and she realized she could hold me down and I actually couldn't get her off. She was so pleased with herself. I thought it was funny too. I've always been able to laugh at myself, and not being traditionally strong was something I knew I had to laugh about with others or it would tear me down. Soon she wanted to wrestle more and more. I couldn't win. She was able to beat me every time. Again, I didn't mind. We have an agreement that whoever makes dinner, the other does the dishes. One night I forgot to do the dishes and began playing my video games. She came up alongside me while I was sitting and put me in a full headlock. She then stood me up and walked me to the sink, me still crushed in her bicep. She asked why the dishes weren't done, I said I forgot, she laughed and told me to do them. And I did. That was the start of a change in our dynamic. Slowly but surely more small things popped up like that. If I missed a laundry load, headlock until I cried uncle. Forgot to take the trash out. Crushed by thighs until I cried. All while she smiled or laughed under the guise of it being fun and games. But I was starting to not feel the same. Then came the SX. SX is no longer a mutually agreed upon concept. It is to take place when she wants, how she wants. Never with me in any sort of position that could be remotely considered in control. Even a few times I begged to not have a particular act done to me, didn't matter. It was happening. If she had a bad day at work, even worse. Now my friends would laugh and say, "Oh poor you, you're having S**X and playing around with her," but it's not about what necessarily, it's about why and how. Like essentially I'm being punished like a kid on a playground. And I left lots of detail out to keep things brief, but it goes further than this. This has heightened and continues to get more extreme day by day over the last 6 months. I've verbalized a few times how certain things make me uncomfortable, and it's always meant with a laugh and a brush off. I'm just confused and don't know how to react, if I should at all. It's left me feeling uncomfortable, but I'm not sure if it's just all in my head. Stories number 22. I-17F got a call from the police about a work incident and want me to come in to talk. Do I go in? I-17F have been working at a local grocery store for 2 years. It's a great place to work and I really would hate to lose my job. This morning I got a phone call from the police telling me they have been made aware of an incident at the grocery store that involves me, and they want me to come into the station to discuss what it's about. I told them that I have a shift this morning. They told me to call in sick and come to the station. The only thing I can think it's about is that I've been taking old bakery items and produce at the end of the days when I'm closing. The food either gets sent away as a donation or thrown in the trash. I always make sure I'm not taking from the donation selection. The manager told me it's okay for me to do this, but I know the owner wouldn't approve. I'm freaking out. Am I going to get charged with stealing? Would I get in this much trouble for taking expired cookies at the end of my shift? I don't even think the owner could prove I've done this. There aren't any cameras at the back room with the garbage. I don't think the manager would tell on me since he tells me and offers me these things. Do I go in? Help. I told the police that I'll see what I can do about work and get back to them. Some of comments. I clarifies. Sorry, yes, they did tell me to bring an adult with me. Both my parents are at work, and I was super afraid to call them to tell them and confess I've been stealing. I guess it's stealing. But I think I do need to call them. We'll do that now. Commenter. There is a minimum dollar amount for a theft to be considered a crime, if you will, and I want to say it's normally about $700, and it has to be in one theft. If it's below the minimum of whatever is in your jurisdiction, it's likely a misdemeanor and you can't be prosecuted from what I remember. I used to work in high-value specialty retail, so I had to know these rules. Reply, that's a relief. Because I really don't think I've taken over $700 in expired food. The police did give them their badge numbers and names to write down to give to my parents. I've tried calling my parents, but they are both at work and didn't pick up. Sent them texts. My shift isn't for another 2 hours, so I'm going to wait for my parents before calling the manager. Update 1. I texted my parents and my mom just called. She told me she called the police and that she's coming to pick me up in a half hour to go to the station. She sounded really upset, but not at me. She told me that I'm not in trouble, but to not even call my work. What is going on? Update 2. Wow. Thank you for all the advice. I took the initial ones I read and got my parents involved right away. My mom was a boss. I have to think about what I can update and get back to you all later, because it's honestly really bad, like nightmare fuel and legally bad. I'm okay. I think. Was at the station for hours. I'm not in trouble. It was not about stealing cookies. But it's far from over. Sorry for being so vague. Update 3. First I wanted to clarify, the police were not suggesting that I go in without my parents. They called and asked to speak to my parents. When I told them they were not home, they asked me to get them to call them back. When I asked what it was about, they told me the above. When I told them I can't come in today because I'm working, they told me it was important and to do what I needed to do, like call in sick. I apologize for being more clear about that phone call. A lot of you were concerned the police were trying to take advantage of me. Thank you for caring. I was just freaking out thinking I was going to get in trouble for stealing old bakery items that the manager told me I could take. I've never been in trouble before, so I was mortified I'd have to confess this to my parents. The first few commenters were telling me to talk to my parents, which kind of snapped me out of it. And like, duh. I need to tell my parents. So I did pretty quickly. I don't know what the police told my mom, but she got home faster than she said and took me straight there. My dad was there when we got there. I was freaking out, even though my mom told me it wasn't not about me stealing and to not worry about that. She also called my work and told them I wouldn't be coming in for my shift. On to the update. The previous manager was filming employees changing in and using the bathroom. An old coworker was tipped off by someone that they found a video of her on some porn website. There were dozens of videos posted of multiple girls over many years using the bathroom and changing in the bathroom. I am one of those girls. The only video I saw of myself, that they wanted to verify it was me, was of me going into the washroom to put my hair up and putting lip gloss on in the mirror. I know there is more, but I didn't want to see it. There was a whole team there of mostly female officers, counselors, etc. I was actually pretty impressed by how they presented and handled it all. Because well, like so many of you, I don't trust cops and they've never really made me feel safe. The old manager was arrested, I'm not sure when, but it was before they called me. They got my number from one original victim who gave out numbers of all female employees that she had. It's a whole thing. I was asked many questions. I was also asked to identify 2 unknown victims. Like a screenshot from a video. Seems like they are customers who somehow got access to the employee bathroom, because no one can identify them. It's been a lot to process. I always thought that guy was a creep. He's the nephew of the owner. I fucking wish it was about pastries. Sum of comments. Commenter, from the way your mom reacted, I knew this is what it would be, but I didn't want to creep you out or worry you if I was wrong. I am so sorry this happened to you. Love, I'm glad your parents are advocating for you. Don't allow anyone to minimize or sweep this under the rug. Ask for therapy. Call the police with any questions. There are websites that you can sign up for that will alert you if the creep is ever releases from jail. If you want to be involved in the legal process in order to stand up for yourself with something like a victim impact statement that can be used in court, ask the police about it. Reply, a few people guessed it, but I already knew by the time I came back and tried to read all the comments. My parents have me set up with therapy tomorrow. I don't feel like I need it, but I understand how these things can grow. Commenter, oh my god. I wish I could give you a hug, if you would want one. That is so scary. I'm glad the police took it seriously and it sounds like set you up with some counselor contacts and resources. Make sure you keep those, and even if you don't opt to use them right away, you might want to in future. Human brains are funny about how they process stuff. Reply, thanks. Apparently this has been an investigation for a while now. The OG victim stopped working there 3 years ago. Which means he's been filming in there since before I worked there. But he only left 6 months ago, so was filming while I was 15. So gross. Going back to work. I won't be going back to work there. It's too creepy. To another commenter. Thanks. My mom told me to take the summer off work and have fun, but I like working, so I'm going to find a new job. Smiley face. Commenter. Glad they caught him and I'm sorry this happened to you. You seem like a very kind, nice person being so worried about eating day-old items you were told you could eat. It's nice to see people with a conscience, but don't be so tough on yourself. Reply, it seems so silly now that I was so worried about cookies. I think to avoid that guilt in the future I'll just not do anything that makes me feel a little uneasy. Save myself the stress. Commenter, recommend that your mother speak to an attorney. It's disgusting, and the ex-manager and store need to be sued and him jailed. Nothing is going to make this right, so to speak, but a lawsuit, if successful, may help with college expenses and or therapy should you need it. Reply, I haven't agreed yet, but they are putting together a whole charge on him with any of the girls that want to press charges. Parents are talking about suing the store. Commenter, hindsight is certainly 20/20, but I just got to laugh at all the people on here talking out their ass, don't trust the police, tell them to get a warrant, etc. And they were acting in a capacity to protect this young lady and others who have been victimized by this weirdo manager. This should serve as a lesson. Maybe we are all too damn opinionated about things we know very little about. Reply, the first commenters were so helpful, telling me to talk to my parents. I'm kind of glad I didn't check back here before doing just so. I probably would have gotten really scared. Stories number 23. Aita for not letting my roommate's boyfriend shower at our place anymore. So I, 21F, live in a 2-bedroom flat with my roommate, 22F. We've lived together for a little over a year and mostly things have been fine. We split rent and bills evenly, and we're friendly, though not super close. We respect each other's space and it's been good up until recently. About 6 months ago, she started dating this guy, 24M. He was around once or twice a week at first, but now he's here constantly. Literally sleeps over 5 to 6 nights a week, sometimes full weeks in a row. He's not on the lease, doesn't pay rent, doesn't bring shopping, doesn't help with anything at all, nothing. I've never said much because I get it, it's her boyfriend, and I didn't want to start drama, but what's been bothering me lately is the shower thing. He showers all of the time, like twice a day minimum, sometimes more. And every single time, he uses my stuff, my shampoo, conditioner, face wash, razor, deodorant. Yes, I noticed. I didn't even say anything the first few times because I thought maybe she let him borrow something once, but this is just ongoing now. I've moved all my things into my room and carry them back and forth like I'm at a camp or something. I brought it up to my roommate a while ago and she just went, he probably didn't realize, and didn't do anything about it. Last week I finally said something more direct and told her I wasn't comfortable with him showering here constantly, especially since he doesn't live here, doesn't contribute anything, and uses my stuff. I told her I'd feel different if he at least bought his own stuff or chipped in somehow. She got super annoyed and said he doesn't have any money right now, so it's not like he can buy his own things, and that I was being cold and controlling. She told me I was overreacting and that it's just hygiene. I snapped and said it's not about hygiene, it's about boundaries and respect. For what it's worth, I wouldn't have even minded grabbing him some basics if she just asked, but she didn't, and neither did he. They just assumed I'd be fine with it. And honestly, I don't even really like him. He's not awful, just kinda moochy and not self-aware at all. So maybe I'm being harsh because I already find him annoying. Now my roommate's barely speaking to me and told one of our mutual friends that I'm being weirdly territorial and passive-aggressive over a guy taking a quick shower. I don't know. Part of me feels bad because he is broke and maybe I'm being too harsh, but I also feel like I'm being walked over in my own home. I just need unbiased advice, so Aita. Throwaway account for anonymity. My normal Reddit account has my name. Update, Aita for not letting my roommate's boyfriend shower at our place anymore. So, I ended up having another conversation with my roommate after she got home, mostly because I couldn't keep walking around like everything's fine when it's really not, and the comments I read from my previous post helped me to come to that conclusion. I told her as calmly as I could that this situation is seriously getting to me. I get it that she's in love, but I'm not just some side character in her life who has to deal with the boyfriend constantly being in our home. I told her flat out that it's been months now of him basically living here, eating, showering, lounging around, sleeping over 5 to 6 nights a week, and it's crossing the line. She just kind of blinked at me and said I was being heartless, literally said those exact words, saying I had no compassion for her relationship or for him, or the fact he had barely any money and needed somewhere to stay most days and needed food, etc. She accused me of being dramatic and of caring more about shampoo than a person who means the world to her. And I just snapped. I told her this is not about shampoo. It's about the fact that her boyfriend, who doesn't pay rent, doesn't contribute to bills and isn't even on the lease, has been using all of my personal stuff for months without asking. Like literally never asked, not once, and neither did she. He just started helping himself to my shampoo, my conditioner, my razor, my face wash and my deodorant like I'm running a free hotel and he's a guest, and the worst part is he barely even talks to me. This man's been living in my space for months and I swear we've had maybe 2 conversations ever. Half the time he doesn't even say hi when he walks in the door and just walks straight past me like I'm invisible and hops in the shower with my products like it's no big deal. I can't believe I have put up with it for this long. I told her if either of them had asked even just once I probably would have been chill about it. Like, yeah, he's broke, I get it because times are hard. I would have even offered to grab him a few basics if he was short on cash, but no one said anything. They just silently decided it was okay for him to mooch off of me and my stuff and my space without so much as a conversation, like I don't get a say in any of this. She got super defensive, like arms crossed and full of attitude, and said something like, well, he's my boyfriend and I'm allowed to have him over. It's my home too, and I said yeah, you are allowed to have him over, but let's not pretend like he's just here. Sometimes, he's always here. He's been here more nights than not for the past few months, and when he's not sleeping over he's still around. He's basically moved in without actually moving in. And if he's gonna act like he lives here, then he needs to contribute like he lives here. She just rolled her eyes and said, and I quote, get used to it. He's my boyfriend, and as I said before, he has barely any money, so wouldn't be able to contribute anything, and that was it for me. I've been so patient. I've tried to be understanding. I've given them the benefit of the doubt over and over again. But at this point I feel completely disrespected and walked over in my own home. I've realized I'm not overreacting, I'm reacting to months of not being heard and being treated like I don't matter. I'm calling our landlord tomorrow morning. I'm going to explain that this guy has effectively moved in, he's been staying here for weeks on end, using the amenities, taking up space, and not paying a single penny toward rent or bills. And if he's going to keep staying here, he needs to start paying his share. I didn't want it to come to this, but I'm not going to keep carrying the weight of a third person in this flat just because my roommate's in a relationship. She made it clear she's not going to do anything about it, so now I have to. Thank you for your responses on the previous post, it really helped me come to terms with the situation. Update 2, Aita for not letting my roommate's boyfriend shower at our place anymore. Thank you guys for all of your help and comments on my prior posts. And yes, if you can tell, I've taken on board the advice about paragraphs and capitalization. LOL, sorry, I'm so used to typing with no capitals and just totally forgot about paragraphs in the stress of me typing it all out. I appreciate everyone who took the time to comment on my last post. It honestly helped me feel so much less crazy about all of this. So like I said I would, this morning I spoke to my landlord. I was so anxious before calling because I didn't want it to feel like I was like tattling or trying to blow things up, but I also knew I couldn't ignore it any longer. He picked up quickly and was actually really calm and professional about everything. I explained the situation as clearly and fairly as I could and told him that my roommate's boyfriend has been staying over 5 to 6 nights a week, sometimes more, using all of our utilities, taking over our shared space and even using my personal things like it's all free despite not paying a single penny toward rent or bills or even any shopping. The landlord paused for a moment and then told me that it wasn't okay. He told me that technically under the lease guests are allowed for short stays like the occasional overnight or weekend. But then said that's very different from someone else effectively living in the flat, and that if someone is staying over more than a couple nights a week on a consistent basis that counts as an unofficial tenant. He said that if my roommate wants him there full time, he needs to be added to the lease and start contributing to rent and bills immediately. Otherwise, he said her boyfriend will have to seriously cut back on how often he's staying over, and if my roommate refuses to cooperate or tries to keep things as they are, it could result in her being in breach of the lease agreement. He said she could face consequences, including possible eviction if this continues without resolution. That honestly shook me a little, but also validated that I'm not overreacting. Now on to the more awkward part. A few hours ago at around 5 p.m. her boyfriend showed up again. As he came in and went to walk past me like usual, I stopped him and said I needed to talk to him. He looked caught off guard and kind of gave me that fake confused, about what, expression, but I stood firm and said I just needed to clear the air. I told him I had noticed he's been staying here constantly and using all my stuff such as my shampoo, my face wash, my razor, and yes, I got a new razor the same day I noticed he was using mine, deodorant, all of it without ever asking. I said I was really uncomfortable with it, especially since he's not on the lease or contributing anything. That's when he got defensive. He didn't yell or anything, but his tone immediately turned snappy and kind of guilt-trippy. He said something like that he was sorry he didn't have somewhere else to go right now and that he was in a deep place. He then said that he wasn't trying to make my life hard and that he was just trying to survive. Then he launched into this whole monologue about how he's unemployed, struggling with his mental health, that his family all cut him off, he can barely afford food let alone shampoo, and how my attitude is just another example of people turning their backs on someone who's already at rock bottom. He even asked if I think he wants to be in this position, or if I think he feels good about the way he lives, like I was supposed to feel guilty for bringing it up. I stayed calm and told him that I wasn't trying to kick him whilst he's down. And that if he had just asked me I probably would have said yes and I might have even bought him some basics. But he didn't ask and he just started helping himself, like it was owed to him. He didn't really have a response to that, other than shrugging and muttering that he didn't think it was a big deal and that my roommate told him it was fine. I said it is a big deal to me. This is my home too, and he has been treating it like a free house that he's allowed to live in, and that's not sustainable anymore. I told him my landlord's going to get involved now and things will have to change. Either he gets added to the lease and starts paying his share, or he stops staying over all the time. And if neither, my roommate could end up being evicted. He got quiet after that. Gave me some annoyed half apology and went into her room. Honestly, I think he was more embarrassed than anything. But I'm not backing down now because I've done my part and I've been patient. I've communicated like an adult, so what happens next is on them. No word yet from my roommate after her convo with the landlord, which I assume happened as my landlord doesn't usually say stuff and not follow through with it, and she still hasn't come back home, which leads me to the belief that she's furious. That said, I'm done prioritizing her comfort over my own peace of mind as I've been more than fair. I will update again if when my roommate says anything to me. Also, I've officially locked my shower stuff away and the snacks that I had previously bought, which were my snacks I bought with my money. I went to Argos this morning and got one of those little lockable storage boxes and slid it under my bed as some of you suggested. I made a very unique 4-digit code for it too, so hopefully my roommate's boyfriend doesn't go to the extreme of trying to open and snoop through a locked box. Thank you so much for all of your comments and constructive criticism of my non-capitals and paragraphs. Sorry, but hopefully this is easier to read. Update 3, Aita for not letting my roommate's boyfriend shower at our place anymore. Thank you for all your comments and positivity on my previous posts. I'm hoping this will all blow over soon, as confrontation is not my thing in general, and this is a situation I really don't want to be in, as I don't want to be the reason someone who's already struggling ends up on the streets. And before I get into the latest update, I did see a comment asking why I didn't just ask her why he doesn't use her stuff, and the answer is because he already does, lol. He uses both of our stuff whenever he feels like it, but for some reason it's mostly mine he grabs. Anyways, my roommate came home about an hour ago, just before 12 p.m., and it was obvious from the second she walked through the door that she was furious. She slammed the front door shut, slammed her keys a little too hard onto the side table, and threw her bag down. I was in the living room at the time and the energy shift was instant. I waited a moment, then came out from the living room, said hello and asked as gently as I could if everything was okay. She didn't answer right away and just stood there with her jaw clenched before blurting out that she couldn't believe I actually called our landlord. And then asked me why I was being so dramatic. I stayed calm and said that I had already told her I was going to if nothing changed and that I didn't go behind her back. She gave this bitter laugh and said something along the lines of, "Yeah, well, now thanks to that our landlord told me in no uncertain terms that boyfriend's name is not allowed to stay more than 2 nights a week anymore unless he starts paying rent." She was absolutely livid. She asked me if I even understood what that meant. And then said he literally has nowhere else to go right now and he's been staying here because he doesn't have a home, not because they were trying to take advantage of me or something. She kept telling me he was struggling and would have no money to pay rent or bills, and now what, is he supposed to just wander around in the cold at night and freeze to death while you, and I quote, sleep soundly knowing your shampoo's safe and sound. That last line was so sarcastic it would have been funny if it wasn't so frustrating and guilt-tripping. I took a deep breath and said that it was not about the shampoo, it was about how he's been here constantly, like literally living here without ever being asked to contribute anything, and literally had barely even acknowledged me ever. I mentioned that I tried to talk to her about it twice and she blew it off both times. What else was I supposed to do? She crossed her arms and looked at me like I was the most cold-hearted person alive. She told me he was her boyfriend, and of course she would want him here. That he's going through so much and now I've made it so he feels completely unwelcome. She told me his family just cut him off one day with no reason and all of his friends stopped talking to him too and apparently treated him awfully, which in my opinion seems ironic, but maybe that's just me, lol. Apparently he called her after I confronted him earlier and told her he's going to stay at a friend's place tonight, and he sounded like he was about to cry before he hung up the phone, then said this was just another example of people not giving **ck about him when he needs it most. I literally didn't even hear him leave, so he must have crept out, lol. I could feel the guilt tripping in every word. But honestly, I've reached the point where I'm done letting it work on me. I said that I was sorry he's going through a rough time. But this is my home too. I pay rent, I pay bills. I keep this place going just like she does. I'm not an extra in her relationship. She brought someone into this space without asking, let him treat it like it's his, and didn't lift a finger when it started affecting me. That's not okay. She went quiet at that, still clearly annoyed but with nothing left to say that wouldn't sound like more of the same. After a few seconds she just said, "I hope you're happy," and walked off into her room, slamming the door behind her. I'm not happy. I didn't want it to come to this. But I'm also not sorry. I've been way more patient than I should have been, and I've tried to handle this like an adult. I don't think her boyfriend feeling unwelcome is because I'm cruel, it's because they've both acted like the rules don't apply to them, and that's not my fault. So I guess this is where things stand for now. Tense, awkward, and probably about to get worse before they get better. But I feel like I can see the horizon of no more stolen shampoo, and hopefully this will all be over soon. Thank you for all of your comments, they mean a lot to me. Update 4. Aita for not letting my roommate's boyfriend shower at our place anymore. Hi again everyone. I just wanted to say thank you again for the incredible support, advice and unbiased opinions you've given me throughout this whole mess of a time. I've read every single comment on my last few posts and it's been genuinely eye-opening in a beautiful way to realize how many people have been able to offer advice when my head was spinning. So, it's been tense but quiet since my last post. My roommate has barely spoken to me and things have mostly been awkward silence or heavy sighs. I've kept my boundaries up and stayed polite, but we both clearly needed space. Yesterday, my roommate and her boyfriend, yes he was over, to collect something of his, had a huge argument. I wasn't eavesdropping, but it was loud enough that I couldn't not hear it as our walls are thin and they were yelling. He was accusing her of being a bad girlfriend for not sticking up for him when I talked to our landlord, or sticking up for him when I raised an issue, which she did, lol. He actually said that she let me humiliate him and that she didn't even defend him, and said I have made him look pathetic. He went full guilt trip, saying she betrayed him and that real partners are supposed to protect each other. He said he felt humiliated, abandoned, and that she clearly didn't care about him at all. It was like watching someone weaponize hurt feelings just to control his narrative. She was crying and trying to explain, but he kept cutting her off, and then suddenly boom, he slammed the door and stormed out. She followed shortly after. I thought that was probably the end of the drama for the night. I genuinely felt bad for her in that moment. But then at like 2 a.m. this morning she came stumbling and tipsy and immediately started shouting at me. She slurred something about me just being jealous and mad because I don't have a boyfriend. I literally couldn't be further from being jealous of her and her boyfriend, as he seems to be so cruel and guilt-tripping towards her. Then she said it's because I can't stand seeing her happy, so I ruin it for her. Then she called me bitter, pathetic, and said I was sabotaging her relationship because I'm lonely. I didn't even say anything and I just sat there stunned. She then stomped off to her room and passed out cold. This morning I woke up to find her sitting at the kitchen table looking rough. She was hungover and clearly very low. She mumbled something about how she doesn't know what to think anymore and then said she thinks that her boyfriend is only with her for her money. I was genuinely trying to be kind, as I felt bad for her and it must be a tough situation to be in. I told her I was sorry she felt like that, and that she deserves better if that's how she's feeling. I thought we were having a real moment. But then she looked me dead in the eye and said literally, and I quote, "This is your fault." My jaw dropped. I literally said, "Excuse me," and she repeated it. She said if I hadn't blown everything out of proportion and gone to our landlord, none of this would have happened and her boyfriend wouldn't be angry with her. And then said I ruined everything. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't fair. I've been nothing but fair and I've tried so hard to set boundaries respectfully, communicate like an adult and not cause drama. I've gone out of my way to make this place livable and still got blamed for everything. And now I'm being guilt-tripped because her boyfriend treats the flat like a free hotel and she's too far gone to see it. Which brings me to the next part of this post. Our lease is up for renewal on August 1st. Our landlord emailed us both yesterday with a standard renewal reminder and asked us to let him know by July 1st if we're planning to stay, so he has time to prep the paperwork or start listing the flat. I've thought long and hard about this, and I have come to the conclusion that I don't want to live with her anymore. Even if her boyfriend disappears tomorrow, the trust and respect is gone and the ability to feel comfortable in my own home is hanging by a thread. I won't be renewing my half. Whether I find a new place alone or with someone else, I'm not staying here. I haven't told her yet because I'm not in the mood to get screamed at again, but I'll be giving proper notice soon and reaching out to our landlord to clarify the process. I'll do it properly and respectfully, but I know that I will no longer live here. I've mentally committed, and this weekend I'm going to start the flat house share search. I'm equal parts nervous and excited. Nervous because I'm in a very good location right now and the rent isn't cheap but reasonable for what it is. I know I might not get quite as lucky again, especially solo, but I'd rather pay a little more than keep sacrificing my sanity, lol. If anyone has any tips or suggestions for websites to search for flat shares, house shares in the UK, I'd massively appreciate them. I've got Spare Room, seems the most legit but can be competitive, Right Move, good for full flats, not so much for house shares, Open Rent, Roomgo, has anyone used this recently, and a few local FB groups I'm cautiously dipping into. I'm also wondering if anyone's had better luck starting as a group of renters looking to sign together rather than joining an existing one. I'd love to hear any experiences, good or bad. I'm still sad that it came to this because this flat could have been a dream, but I know I'm making the right decision. I deserve a space that feels like mine, or at least one I'm not constantly being pushed out of emotionally. So yeah, wish me luck. And if anyone knows of a spare room in a chill flat with non-toxic housemates and boundaries that are respected, feel free to manifest it into the universe for me, hahaha. Thank you to everyone who's commented and supported me through this absolutely bonkers situation. You made me feel sane and reminded me that I deserve to feel safe, respected and comfortable in my own home. Stories number 24. Aita for not acknowledging my SIL as a mom on Mother's Day. My SIL, 22F, recently married the father of my real older sister's, 30F, daughter. My sweet niece, A, is only 8 but has been raised around SIL as her aunt. My relationship with her brother, 24M, is not new. We have been together for 11 years, so SIL has had my family as a part of hers for a long time. Recently SIL got married to A's father, 28M, after a day-long engagement. The family was blindsided. I asked SIL if they realized how confusing this was going to be for her now that her aunt is her stepmom. SIL told me I was being dramatic and to move on. When Mother's Day came along, I planned a big dinner for my mom, MIL, and sister. We had a cake ordered with their names on it that read, "Happy Mother's Day to the Three Musketeers." Everyone came on time and the party was in full swing when SIL pulled me aside and asked why she wasn't included in the celebration with the other moms. I admit I stared her in the face and asked why on earth I would do that when she wasn't a mom. SIL called me an asshole and said nothing to me the rest of the night. When I got home I had about 20 messages from A's dad telling me that she is A's mom as well. I told him neither he nor SIL were in the room when A was born and he had no right to tell me who my niece's mom is. Maybe I am being the but I don't feel like I should have to include her in the celebration when she just married this guy and A only knows her as her aunt. Also, I do believe stepmoms are real moms. I am just finding it hard to view her that way. Now everyone is saying I should apologize and include her in any other mother-related celebrations. So Reddit, ETA, I had no indication beforehand that Asael would even want to be celebrated. ETA, A is unaware that Asael and her father are married. A's father also does not have custody, nor does he involve himself in her life other than holidays. Stories number 25. Aita for uninviting my daughter to our Christmas gathering. Bear with me, I am on mobile. I am a mother of 4 children. 2 older sons and 2 younger daughters. All of them are adults and have moved out a long time ago. I have always been close with my daughter Sally, while Penny has always liked to have her own space. Which I don't mind, they're both beautiful talented young women that I thought I couldn't be more proud of. We're having early Christmas this year. First week of December I was inviting everyone around for Christmas dinner, gift giving and the lot. When I phoned Penny yesterday to clarify a few things, she mentioned that she and her husband would not be coming. When I asked, she said that they had separated for now as he had cheated. I said that it was surely better to spend time with family if this was the case, and maybe she should come home for some time. She emmed and ahed, but then eventually she told me he had an affair with Stinkbug and they had been seeing each other for the past 2 years. I felt sick. For the past 6 months in our talks, Sally has alluded that she had been seeing someone and was typically girl in love. I uninvited Sally to the Christmas gathering and blocked her. I don't know if I'm able to deal with her before Christmas, but this is family time and family can't hurt each other like that. I'm at a loss in all honesty. Penny is now coming, which is good because at this time she needs stability of people who love her imo. The problem is that Sally naturally thinks I'm in the wrong. It's none of my business, and as her mother I can't block her and remove her from the family. My sister thinks I shouldn't get involved in their personal lives, which I think is BS. My daughter needs us right now. But then she tells me I have 2 daughters to think about. Which I think isn't true. Sally has forfeited that right ATM. Thankfully my husband is liaising with Sally ATM, but he is also in solidarity with me. So are we in the wrong for uninviting a daughter for Christmas? Edit. My husband showed me that this had gotten a lot responses. Too many for us to answer them all, but we will be reading through before bed. A small update, Penny's MIL found out. While me and her have only spoken a few times, she did dote on Penny and I know Penny got along well with her. I haven't spoken to her personally, but I know she phoned my daughter and was really supportive and crying. My sister said that if Sally isn't invited then she isn't going either. Which is fine by me, she wasn't invited in the first place due to the pandemic. Otherwise I've been working and doing some crochet, so it's been quiet, smiley face. Update 1. My daughter Penny has been staying with us. She works from home. My husband and eldest went to get some more of her stuff from her old house. Penny's mother-in-law, Jane, was there and was very helpful and sweet. She also bought some mint hot chocolate for our Penny and Christmas candles. I know they're her favorite. From what Penny has told me, Jane is having similar feelings to me. A lot of guilt over our children's decision to hurt people we love. I think at this point we have to accept that we did our best raising them, but they're adults now, so we can't beat ourselves up. Penny and Jane are going to stay in touch. I think Jane truly does think of Penny as a daughter friend. Smiling face with smiling eyes, smiling face with smiling eyes. On to some more negative things. I wrote my letter to Sally during this time. I expressed that I was extremely disappointed and also disgusted. While I will continue to have a relationship with her, she won't be welcome to any family gatherings with Penny present unless Penny has met a point in her life where she feels comfortable. I told her what some of you had said, that not taking a side would be a side, and that she had for all intents and purposes, already uninvited herself when she was so cruel to her sister. Sally had apparently come up on Friday and knocked on the door. I was out shopping at the time. My husband spoke to her. Apparently, Sally and Michael, my son-in-law, are going to continue their relationship. I will not support it in any way or form. She may be my daughter, but that man is not welcome. I am supporting Penny through the divorce, and if Sally ever expects money for the wedding or a house, then she's a very naive girl. My husband sent her away, after which Sally said we'd have to get over it someday. Otherwise, the Christmas gathering was lovely. It was strange not getting drunk and playing board games due to COVID, but still a pleasant time. My hip hurts from the cooking, but husband and Penny did the cleaning up, so who's the real winner? I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for your kind words when I last spoke to you. Edit. I know some are concerned about COVID, but please know that we live in a country with very few cases and we met within government guidelines. Update 2. Hello all, I hope this message finds you well. A lot has changed since I last spoke with you all, so I would like to update you because I am finding things a bit difficult right now. First of all, Penny is doing well. She met someone new about a year ago, they're incredibly supportive and sweet, and they made such an effort in getting to know me and my husband. Penny was still living with me when she started seeing them, so I got to watch their relationship develop, and although Penny is a grown woman I couldn't help but be reminded of when she was a child and having crushes. It was very endearing and I'm glad I got to witness firsthand the smile her new partner gives her. Penny also got a new job and has moved to Ireland with her partner. Sally and Michael have continued their relationship. I don't have a lot of love to give Michael. I am civil enough but frankly, it is difficult for me to become invested in their relationship at all. Michael recently asked my permission to marry Sally, which was disrespectful, to say the least. Penny still lived with me last Christmas, so again they were not invited. I am not hosting this Christmas and am instead going to go visit my eldest son. He and his wife had a little boy at the beginning of this year. They've asked me to stay with them for a little while so I can help with the cooking and cleaning, as they have been struggling a little bit. Finally, my husband passed away 9 months ago. He fell while on a walk and hit his head, and was there for some hours before someone found him. It's been a difficult transition, to put it mildly. Being a little bit on the older side, I've lost a fair few people in my life, and while I did grieve, I always had the strength to continue. Losing my husband made me realize how much I relied on him. Not just to take the bins out, or pick me up from choir practice, but all the times I was angry, sad, and overwhelmed and he was there for me. When other people passed away, at least you get moments of respite in the grief, where you just sort of forget they've passed. With my husband, there are only reminders. Every time I wake up alone, when I now have to take the bins out, when I have to cook a meal just for one person. There's not really a moment of peace in this grief, and I have found it very difficult to deal with. It's his birthday at the end of November, and there was another moment of grief as I had to get rid of my notes for birthday gift ideas in my notebook. Everything has just been so painful to deal with, and I just cannot stop crying even after all this time. I just can't even stand to think of the good moments I shared with him because it just hurts too much. I know there's not a correct way to grieve or time limit, but I just feel like I've got to get up and start looking after myself for everyone around me. I really want to thank any of you that read this. It's been incredibly helpful just to be able to share my feelings a little bit. I hope you all have been doing well. Kind regards. New update. I wasn't quite sure how to respond to all the messages I received after my last post. It seemed like a mighty task to reply to you all individually, so although I appreciate the well wishes, you'll have to settle for sharing the thank you message. So, thank you all for the advice and care you've shown since that one Christmas so many years ago, smiley face. When my husband passed, I could not see another way to live my life. We had shared and created so much together, and I suppose I never imagined a life without him because I never wanted it. That being said, my husband, quite selfishly, died, and so after a year of stagnation it was time to live a life without him. I have moved closer to my eldest son and wife to help raise my grandchildren. It was difficult at first because, although the children keep me busy and gave me joy and purpose, I did sometimes wish to talk to someone my own age about my own interests and not just Bluey. Serendipitously, I ran into an old friend of mine at the leisure center about a half year ago, and she is also widowed. It feels like a light in my life has been switched back on. We reconnected almost instantly, and it's a blessing to have someone I can rely on again. We are living together and she is pretty much considered co-grandmother. While I do still wake up alone, I now know that the kettle is already boiling downstairs, smiley face. Penny is doing well. She has now moved to the Netherlands for work and she and her partner are still together. They've just recently gone back home after visiting for the week, smiley face. Sally is also doing well. I know for some that will be disappointing to hear, including myself sometimes. On one hand, as a mother, I'm glad she's happy. On the other hand, equally as a mother, I can't forgive her for hurting Penny. I also have some deeper resentments as my husband passed while he was also hurting because of the decisions she had made. Sometimes it feels unfair to hold that against her. We still talk and I still love her, but sometimes I feel like I'm going through the motions rather than caring for my daughter as I used to. It's also a really hard thing to talk about to other people. There's a lot of guilt and shame involved when sharing that sometimes I feel quite ambivalent towards my daughter. All in all, the last couple of years have been a bit eventful. I would give everything to turn back time, but I can't, and so I spend my time appreciating everything I still have. Once again, thank you all for your advice, care, and well wishes. The help I received was invaluable for navigating a difficult time in my life. Stories number 26. Aita for telling my mom I care about my real family, not her ILs. My dad died when I, 17F, was younger. My mom was married to him, but they had a rocky relationship. They cheated on each other, they weren't always kind to each other, and my mom used to say he baby trapped her, but when she talked to her friends about it she expected him to know whether she took her pill every day or not and got lazy in keeping watch over that stuff or how rough she was with condoms. So I don't think the baby trapping thing is true. I think it's more like neither were careful and mom hated being tied to him. Even with all that, I always had a good relationship with dad's family even if mom didn't. My mom's family weren't around and she had nothing to do with them, so I never met them. For me, that left my dad's family to fill the void. She tried to keep us apart, but I acted up when she did it, so she gave in eventually. When I was 9 she married her husband and she got close to his family. She was always nagging me for not getting close to them and for putting dad's side over them. If two things were on the same day, I'd always want to go to the celebration with dad's family. And when it came to grandparents' day stuff at school, I asked my dad's parents to come and not my mom's ILs. It pissed my mom off even more because my dad's side didn't try to include my mom's stepkids or my half-siblings. She told me all the time that her ILs welcomed everyone and dad's side wouldn't even invite the other kids I was being raised with to join the family celebrations. When I got a little older and would dig in my heels more about who I spent time with, I saw way less of her ILs and way more of my family. Mom and I argued about that so many times, but I never let her change my mind. To me, one side was my family and the other were not. I didn't tell mom that until last week though. 2 of my cousins graduated high school 2 weeks ago, and 3 in the IL's family graduated. I was the only one who didn't attend the joint celebration for those 3 because I was celebrating with my cousins. Then my mom saw a FB post about next year being a big year because I'll grade 8 and how dad's side are planning an epic graduation party because I deserve it after coming so far and in honor of dad. That made my mom so angry and she asked me if I knew about that plan. I said it was mentioned and mom went off on how I spend all this time with dad's family and don't even acknowledge her ILs as family, and now I'm looking to have a graduation party with that side who aren't inclusive and don't welcome and accept everyone into the family. She said it was an insult to her and to the family who have tried so hard to include me since she got married. She asked me why I wanted to know dad's side when they were like that, but I didn't seem to care if I ever saw her husband's side. She was basically screaming at me to tell her why, and so I answered and I said I care about my real family, not her ILs. That I love my real family. Mom freaked out even more and started screaming about how dare I talk about them that way and how dare I refuse them love and how dare I say my real family when her ILs are much more family than dad's side would ever be. Ever since we haven't said a word to each other and mom slams things when I'm close by. Stories number 27. My date was about to be 2 hours late and I told him we need to reschedule and he's got me a little scared now. So this guy and I've been talking for about a week now. We planned a date about 4 days ago. Yesterday we were supposed to have had our date, but days prior to that we kept talking about the date up until the date that was supposed to be had yesterday. Yesterday I already took a shower, got my makeup done and got my son dressed because he was gonna go to his babysitter at 8 p.m. and my date agreed to pay for the babysitter as well, so I kept asking him for updates on what was going on. He was really slowly replying, and then around 833. I told him if you're not here by 9:30 we're gonna have to cancel because I don't want to keep the babysitter waiting, and then around 9 o'clock I still had no response from him, so I just went ahead and told him we're gonna have to cancel, and as soon as I typed that he said he had poor signal, he was gonna be here at 9:40, please I wanna see you. He just kept texting more and more, so I just blocked him, and then he said that he understood why I had to cancel, but then he still kept calling and texting me. He found my Instagram, messaged me on there, he found my Snapchat, he called me on private numbers, he still kept cash apping me $1 asking me if I'm okay. I just feel a little bit creeped out by him, and he still is sending me messages from different numbers. Is this a valid reason to be worried about this kind of behavior and report it to the police? I did already text him yes I was fine, but he still keeps contacting me. Update, I sent him a long text on why he should stop contacting me and why. He then texted me saying he sincerely apologized and he really wants to make it up. He sent me $50 on Cash App for deposit for babysitter, but I sent it back and told him to leave me alone. Stories number 28. Aita for not letting my ex or his GF see my baby. My ex and I haven't gotten along since we divorced 4 years ago. He has created fake pages to stalk me, called CPS on me, attempted to get my now husband to leave me before we ever got married, and put our child at risk. The list goes on, but I won't name everything. His girlfriend has been around since before we got divorced, and before anyone asks, yes, they did have an affair. Fast forward to now, our child is in 2nd grade and spends time with their dad and his girlfriend during breaks. I recently got remarried and had a new baby. I don't want my baby around my ex and his girlfriend or to even see them for obvious reasons. My child has asked their dad if he wanted to see the baby, and he said something along the lines of, I wouldn't mind. I said, no, and that their dad didn't need to see the baby and left it at that. Here's where I might be the AH, my child video chats with their dad or his girlfriend sometimes. Recently I told them that if they're holding the baby they need to turn the camera off because their dad and his girlfriend don't need to see the baby. My child told the girlfriend this and the girlfriend said, "Isn't that rude? So am I the AH for not wanting them to see my baby at all?" They have both attempted to make my life difficult on multiple occasions, and I don't want them to have anything to do with my baby at all. I barely like them having anything to do with my oldest child due to several incidents, but that's their father. Edit TOADD, there was an order granted to me in court for my protection with regard to this ex. So, I'm just trying to protect the baby and my older child as well. Edit 2, I have never bad-mouthed the oldest dad to them or around them. I simply said that they didn't need to see the baby right now and did not elaborate further. The oldest does have an excellent relationship with the baby and helps out a lot. I've done my best to keep them out of the toxicity even when this ex has not. My biggest concern is my baby being showed to by other people by ex via screenshot or somehow involved in anything unnecessary. Hubby feels the same way as he has been dragged into things by this ex before. The older child has also been told things by this ex that are completely inappropriate to be discussing with a child. I'm doing my best to protect both my children. Also, the oldest loves my new hubby and they have an amazing relationship. Oldest has gone with hubby to do things alone. And oldest always hugs him and gets upset anytime he has to go anywhere, including to work. Edit 3, I do agree that I should just remove the baby from the area during these calls. That's on me for allowing my eldest to hold the baby or watch the baby during these calls, and I can do better moving forward and just let me oldest know that I want them to focus on their conversation with their dad and I'll keep the baby with me until they're done talking. Stories number 29. AIO for walking out of my baby shower because my MIL made it all about her loss. I'm 28 weeks pregnant with our first baby. My husband and I, both 31, were over the moon when we found out. It's been a tough pregnancy but I've managed, and my friends threw me a small, beautiful baby shower last weekend. MIL, 61F, showed up wearing white, a sash that said Grandma TOB, and brought a framed picture of her first baby, who tragically passed away at 3 months. I thought maybe it was just sentimental and tried to let it go. Then, during the gift opening, she loudly told everyone that nothing will ever top her firstborn and made me pass around the photo. I was stunned. It felt like she hijacked my moment to grieve her own at an event literally meant to celebrate my baby. I quietly left the table, went to the bathroom, and cried. My husband followed me in and said, "She's just emotional. Don't make a scene." I said I wasn't going back out if she was still there, and he got mad at me. So I called my best friend, and she drove me home. Now my MIL is playing victim, saying I embarrassed her and shamed her grief. My husband says I overreacted and should apologize to keep the peace. I don't even want her at the birth now. Am I overreacting? Stories number 30. My son's peers at his high school voted him as safest boy, and I'm weeping. After passing around a survey from teenage girl to teenage girl, my son was named as the boy they would trust their lives with. I'm wrecked with pride and so thankful to have a son that loves, respects and values women. That he has a father that has shown him through action every day how women deserve to be honored and treated. Feeling like there is hope for things to be better. Edit, so I've tried to decide how to answer questions about how to raise a safe son. Sorry, I don't know how to phrase it. Here's the best I can do. We decided early on we were going to break the cycle of religious junk we grew up with. Conversations about women's rights, struggles and daily experiences have always had a place in our home and started young. I've openly shared my own experiences, sometimes as a reflection back and oftentimes in real time. We've worked hard to demystify relationships with other genders, never sugar-coated how bodies work and built a foundation that no person owes you any type of relationship. TLDR, talk to your children with respect, answer the hard questions with honesty and honor their journey to becoming good people. Stories number 31. My boyfriend admitted he orchestrated our meet cute. I have no idea how I feel about what he told me. I want to think it's cute that he cared this much, but it's just coming off as creepy and I feel lied to. He got drunk because we were celebrating my first successful day at my clinicals and he ended up saying something along the lines of, "Could you believe we wouldn't be this happy if I hadn't watched you for so long?" To which I was confused and didn't know what he meant. Well, I had worked at a local library for 2 years, before we met, during college, and apparently he saw me there but didn't actually talk to me. He just would watch me and listen in on my conversations with the people I was checking out and my coworkers to figure out what I liked. Then he apparently followed me and found the coffee shop I frequented. All this time I thought we had a sweet first-time meeting story. He accidentally bumped into me, apologized, and offered to buy me coffee for the trouble. He told me what he was ordering and it was the exact same thing I always get, and I thought it was an amazing coincidence. I joked that it was fate and we spent like an hour talking over coffee. I feel so stupid. Apparently it was similar to a scene in a book that I had read and told my coworker I had thought was cute. I'm just so frustrated and angry. I feel betrayed, like why would you do this? And how much of our year-and-a-half relationship is a lie? Like it sounds like he was stalking me. Edit, just so we're all on the same page, I don't believe he was watching me the whole time I was working there. I think it was the last 6 months or so before I actually met him. He is a bit socially awkward, but he has a group of friends that he plays D&D and hangs out with like once a week. He's 25 and I'm 22, so it's not a weird age gap. I have never really considered him going through my phone weird because I basically let anyone look at my phone whenever. I'm not worried about anyone seeing anything. I've also never really been worried about my safety with him before, but I do know that he has anger issues and has gotten in trouble for getting into a few physical fights, so for those of you worried about me, I will be watching for any signs I might have missed. I mainly am just upset because I feel like our relationship was built on a lie, even if it was a smallish one. He also said he was interested in a lot of the same things I was when we first met, and for a while he kept up with them, but lately he hasn't at all, and I'm now wondering if he lied about those things too. I definitely need to have a conversation with him, and I'm driving home now, so I'll talk with him when I get there. Thanks for the feedback, folks. Following edit was made by Xedit. I was wrong. He has done nothing wrong. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm telling you from experience, and please, please, please don't take my comment and the many others lightly. This guy is a walking red flag. He will try to control you more and more over time. First he stalked you, let's be honest, that's what it was, then he manipulated you at your first meeting, oh wow what a coincidence we like the same coffee, 3, to make you think you're somehow soulmates or whatever. Now you live together, how long were you even dating before that, and he's already checking your phone. And he guilt trips you for seeing your friends more than once a week. Girl, trust your gut. You feel like it's creepy. That's because it is creepy. You feel like he lied to you. That's because he did. There is absolutely nothing cute about his behavior. Please, please talk to someone you trust. Start gathering your most important documents, passport, etc., and store them somewhere safe. I promise you, if this is how the relationship started, it's only going to get worse no matter what sweet lies he tells you, no matter how many times he apologizes, no matter how great the 2 weeks after an apology feel. It will start all over again. Don't lie to yourself. Trust your gut. Please. Reply. We were dating for a little over a year before we decided to move in together in a place that close to the hospital where I'm doing my clinicals. I was hesitant to move out there on my own, and it seemed like our relationship was really good. I spent a lot of time at his apartment leading up to it. Evidently I need to rethink some things. Update. Hey everyone, I know a lot you have been worried about me, and I just wanted to let all of you know that I'm safe. Shit has definitely hit the fan, but at the moment I'm safe. First, no, I didn't make that last edit. My boyfriend went on my phone while I was showering and trying to figure out what I wanted to say to him about everything, and he found and edited my post. He then started yelling at me while I was still in the shower about sharing it online and calling him creepy. At the same time he was guilt-tripping me and telling me that it was romantic and he did it because he loved me. He literally read a few of the comments out loud to me. He barely let me out of the shower, but I did manage to get my clothes on while he was screaming at me. What really freaked me out was that he started listing off things that he could have done to me. I won't list them here because it was extremely gruesome and I don't think it's allowed, but he said that he didn't do those things because he's such a nice guy. The way he described the things he could have done though made me feel like he had genuinely considered doing it. Also, I thought he was only watching me for a few months, apparently it was upwards of a year, and it was genuine actual stalking. He had followed me home and to my college campus. He pulled out a collection of my lost hair ties that he kept. I told him that he was scaring me and that we needed to take a break and come back to it later. At that he put a hole in the wall next to my head. I told him that I was leaving after that because fuck that shit, and it was like a switch flipped and he started crying. He got on his knees and begged me to stay and apologized. I ended up accepting his apology because I didn't feel safe leaving. Yesterday morning after he'd left for work I grabbed all my important documents and irreplaceable things before my clinical started and kept them in my car. After my clinical I didn't go back to the apartment. I'm not going to give much more detail than that because he does know my account obviously. And for Andrew, if you're reading this, which we both know you are, please just leave me alone. The person I thought I loved doesn't actually exist, and that's heartbreaking. I no longer feel safe with you like I did before, and I hate that. Please let's just move on from each other. Stories number 32. Aita for telling my FIL he can't hump the floor at my house or in my presence. Crazy title, and I wish it weren't true, but here we are. Unfortunately I'm asking because I'm possibly in a state of being gaslit, or I actually can't take a joke and I can't see it. My FIL, late 50s, is known for being very playful, goofy some would even say. Well him, my MIL, late 50s, and 3 sibling-in-laws, 20M and 27M 28F, married couple, came to stay with my husband and I at our home, 28F 30M, and to see our new LO, 7 months. Well, LO was put to bed and we were all in the living room area hanging out, doing stretches, just casually talking, when FIL decided it would be funny to start humping the ground out of nowhere. And unfortunately it was directly in front of me, not MIL. Mill and I looked at each other in shock while his children all laughed and chuckled. FIL made it clear that the gesture was meant for his wife despite it being directly in front of me, with eye contact, so we dropped it. The night passed, they left town, and after a few days of not being able to shake the image in my head, I decided to talk with my husband about how uncomfortable it made me along with other sexual jokes he makes about us all being married and etc. There's been this big divide now on how I'm always ruining the fun, how it was just a joke and not a sexual gesture, and how I'll always find a problem when my husband's family is in town. His family thinks this, however, when I speak with my mom, sister, cousins, and anyone on my side of the world, they see his jokes and gesture as totally inappropriate. My FIL tried to make the point that I've done TikTok dances in his home with the other sibling-in-laws and my husband, and he's never felt uncomfortable because he knows they're harmless and that it's not fair for me to judge him about this versus knowing his intent, which was to just make a joke. My point is, even though I'm not on TikTok and I don't post videos, everything I've done is postable, him slow stroking the ground is not. My husband got mad at me for not seeing it as a joke, and so did the other married siblings who were in the room that were raised by FIL. So Aita for saying that my FIL humping the floor in my home presence made me uncomfortable and drawing that boundary. I genuinely would appreciate feedback because I plan to have another conversation soon and I want to know that I'm coming into the conversation grounded in reality. Stories number 33. Aita for threatening to call the cops on my brother's admirer and calling her a disgusting creep, making her cry. I, 19F, have a younger brother, Caden, 16M. Caden had to change schools at the start of the second semester due to health reasons. During that time, he caught the attention of a girl I'll call Abby, 17F. They had a few classes together, but she grew infatuated quickly. She would cling to him, gift him snacks, etc. At first it seemed completely harmless and even my brother was cool with it despite him only seeing her as a friend at the time. But later, she started to exhibit a few concerning behavior traits. She would lash out at him if he didn't respond right away to texts, and she would show aggressive signs of jealousy if he hung out with other girls as just friends. He did try to let her down easily, and even though she claimed to have accepted it, she continued the behavior. But it got worse after school let out. She started leaving gifts at our doorstep even though none of us, including Caden, ever gave her our address. Sometimes I'd catch her parked a few houses away in the evening when I went out jogging. Our parents ignored this because they thought it was cute or just a coincidence, but Caden stopped going out with his friends as much and vented to me about feeling uncomfortable with how Abby was acting. So I encouraged him to try setting boundaries with her. She ended up screaming at him over the phone when he tried, calling him gay and numerous insults before he blocked her. Not only did she continue parking nearby, but she went as far as to try spreading a rumor online that Caden gave her an STD. I was livid when I learned about the last part, so the next time she parked nearby I confronted her. I can't detail everything I said because I was seeing red, but I ended by saying she was a disgusting creep especially for acting this way towards someone younger than her, and I threatened to call the cops if she didn't leave Caden alone. She cried and called me a non-sympathetic asshole before driving off. I came home and my parents knew something was up, so I told them what happened. Instead of being concerned for Caden, they got annoyed and called me dramatic for intervening with typical teenage drama. I talked to Caden later and he was thankful. Abby also took down the rumor posts later. But since then, I've gotten a few DMs from people who claim to know both of them saying I was overreacting and being too overprotective of my brother because guys like the attention. I don't really care what they think as long as my brother is safe, but I guess I'm curious to know if I could have handled things differently since I keep getting DMs about it. Stories number 34. Aita for refusing to change my wedding location for my sister-in-law. My wife and I did a cruise wedding. The ceremony was on the ship while it was still in port at Vancouver. Those who wanted to stay for the cruise could purchase cabins, and those who only wanted to attend the wedding could board for the ceremony and then disembark before we set sail. Right after we sent out save the dates, so still early in the process, my wife's sister contacts us asking that we have our wedding in the US. 7 years ago she was arrested for theft and took a plea deal. She was worried that if she left the US she would not be able to re-enter because of her criminal record. She has a green card. Here's the thing. I don't like my sister-in-law. I don't like the way she treats my wife. I don't like how she always finds a way to make everything about her. I sat down with my wife and said, if you want to change our plans, I will back you because this is our wedding and you need to be happy with it, but it needs to be because you will be happier to have the wedding elsewhere with your sister present, not just to appease her. I also want to mention that Sil been to France several times the last few years and had no fear then. My wife said she couldn't decide because she always gives in to her sister and knows she doesn't have the strength to stand up to her. She asked me to decide. I told Sil that the wedding is in Vancouver, that she will be invited and if she doesn't come we'll understand. She flipped out, but I didn't change my mind. Sil tried to get people to boycott the wedding for her. Eventually my mother-in-law and brother-in-law decided not to come. At that point my wife was going to change her mind, but by then we had made non-refundable, or only partially refundable, deposits and some people had already purchased plane tickets and hotel rooms we would have felt obligated to reimburse them for. We ran the numbers and decided we needed to stay the course. At the last minute my wife's father also didn't attend, despite confirming he would be there and even having a flight and hotel reservation. He just didn't show up. Despite this, the wedding was great. My wife's uncle walked her down the aisle. Our friends and my family rallied around my wife. We all partied in Vancouver, had a beautiful ceremony and then enjoyed our cruise with a good mix of alone time and time with the people closest to us. Once we arrived back home, the narrative flipped. Sil is spreading the story that I intentionally had the wedding in Canada so my wife's family couldn't come without fear of deportation. I have become the bad guy and am getting a lot of backlash. I feel like I'm losing my mind. People are saying it was scummy not to take the current political climate into account and make my wife's family choose between a wedding and their safety. Only Sil has the record, so I don't see where they are coming from. My Bill is an American citizen. He could definitely have safely come. What am I missing here? Stories number 35. Aita for calling my wife a slob and demanding she clean before I come home. I, 30M, just came back from a nearly 6-month deployment. I've been married to my wife, 29F, for 2 years. This is the longest deployment I've had since we've lived together. No kids, but we do have a few pets. I bought the house we live in before we got married, and before I left, it was clean and in great condition. When I walked through the door, it was like stepping into one of those hoarder show houses. I wish I was kidding. This is not an exaggeration. In fact, it's probably not descriptive enough. The master bathroom had black mold on the walls. The sink and shower were caked with soap scum, hair everywhere, trash covering the floor, we're talking used tissues, used pads, makeup packaging, all just strewn round. The toilet, I won't even describe the toilet. The bedroom had waist-high piles of clothes, papers, and God knows what lining 2 walls. The carpet was completely covered in pet hair. I saw little moths flying around that looked like the kind that eat fabric and hair. The living room wasn't dirty as much as it was piled with clutter, unopened shopping bags, decorations from last Halloween and Christmas still out, tons of random stuff she clearly bought but never put away. And the kitchen, the smell hit me before I even walked in. Both sinks were full of dirty dishes with some kind of black sludge coating the bottom. The fridge was packed, but mostly with expired and rotting food. There were 2 casserole dishes filled with what I can only describe as pure mold. Based on what I found, the food in those dishes had been sitting there since before I left in January. I completely lost it. I yelled. A lot. I called her names, because honestly, what kind of person lets things get this bad? It felt like coming home to a house abandoned by squatters. I told her she had 1 week to clean the entire house and return it to the condition it was in before I deployed or I'd be filing for divorce. Then I left. I'm staying with a friend. This guy is not easy to live with. He's loud, way too talkative, and messy in his own way, but even his place is paradise compared to what I walked into. My wife cried and begged me to stay. She said I was being unfair, and that I just left her here to deal with everything. But I don't understand. What everything? We have no kids. She works a normal job and comes home. That's it. No night shifts, number 80-hour weeks, no caretaking responsibilities. What else was there for her to deal with? What could possibly be taking up so much of her time and energy that basic tasks like throwing away used tissues, washing dishes, or taking out the trash couldn't be done? She told me I needed to help her because it was our mess, but I've been gone for over 5 months. She claims that I didn't understand how hard it was for her while I was gone. I didn't make any of that mess. I've been deployed and working my ass off and the house I paid for was trashed while I was away. Is there something I really don't understand here? Update, Aita for calling my wife a slob and demanding she clean before I come home. Just thought I'd post an update because I continue to get responses saying, she's depressed, on my original post. I heard you. 1,000 plus people saying it, you don't need to say it anymore. I went over to our house this morning and started cleaning while my wife was at work. It really doesn't look like she'd done much, even though she told me she'd been cleaning. I'd really like to know what she cleaned because I didn't see any difference between when I first got home to this morning. I cleaned the bathroom, threw most of the garbage all over the place away, but tried to be nice and keep what actually looked like untainted makeup and bath products. I sprayed the entire room with bleach, the walls, the shower, the toilet, the floor. The bleach pretty much ate all of the mold away on its own, but I scrubbed it all too. It took me maybe 15 minutes to rinse everything in the sink and load the dishwasher. That's what kills me. It took 15 minutes even with as bad as it was. Why couldn't she have done that? It took longer to scrub the sink itself, and now scratched up from all of the utensils and metal baking sheets and things, plus there are permanent stains. I almost vomited from the smell. I saved absolutely nothing from the fridge. I filled 2 large trash bags up with the contents, containers and all. I don't think anything was safe in there, and it wasn't worth taking the chance. There's still a lot more to do, but I took care of the most disgusting parts. She came home and didn't expect me to be there. She came home with a shopping bag. She had gone shopping despite the hoard of stuff inside the house. I told her I cleaned up the bathroom and the kitchen, and that we're going to work together all weekend to clean the rest of it. She hugged me and seemed all thankful, and I told her it's not that simple. I'm still pissed off and I still don't understand how this happened. She said she didn't understand how it happened either, she just got overwhelmed. She was mad that I threw some of the stuff in the fridge away. She wanted to save the casserole dishes. One was her grandma's. Well, I never want to eat out of that dish again. She went and saved it from the trash. I told her I threw more stuff away and tried to save what seemed salvageable in the bathroom. I also let her know that if she doesn't help me clean this weekend then I'm going to be throwing all of the stuff she's accumulated in the living room away too. She said she's going to help. I'll obviously have to tell her exactly what tasks to do, and I shouldn't have to do that. I've accepted that I'll have to do it to get the place cleaned this weekend. Long term, that's not what I signed up for when I married her. Am I going to have to get a chore chart like she's a little kid? I told her maybe we need to get a cleaning service to come in. I don't feel we should need people to come in and clean our house for us, and I would prefer to spend my money on other things, but I still offered to do it for her sake. She was adamantly against it and doesn't want any cleaners coming into her space. She says it feels too weird to have somebody come in and clean. I asked her what was wrong, maybe she needs therapy or to get professional help. She said she knows she should probably go get help, but she's not ready to do that and she can stay on top of things if we just get it back to clean state. She said she's fine and she just got overwhelmed with work and felt so tired and it was easy to let things go when she was the only one here. She says now that I'm back it won't happen. I'll believe it when I see it. Stories number 36. Teen wanting to share bed with parents. My son recently turned 16. 2 nights ago he came in our room and asked if he could sleep with us. He seemed kinda nervous, I guess. He's 150 pounds and 6 foot, so we thought that might be rough for all 3 of us in the same bed. My wife and I offered that one of us could go sleep with him in his bed. He said okay. We asked who he wanted. He said me, Dad. I was kinda surprised. We have a good relationship, but wife has always been the nurturing type they go to when they are sick, etc. But I went and got in bed with him. I asked him if everything was okay and if he wanted to talk about anything. He got irritated and just said, if you don't want to be here you can just go back to your bed, I don't care. I said I didn't mean it like that and I put my arm around him. He kinda hugged my arm and we stayed like that for a while. The next morning I woke and he was like straight up hugging me. He was asleep, not sure if it was on purpose or accident. My arm was asleep, I was sweating from all the body heat. Not that comfortable. He moved around right much in the night, so I didn't sleep the greatest. Was hoping it was just a one-time rough day kinda thing, but last night he asked again. I said yes and didn't try to ask him any questions this time. He was not hugging me this morning and I slept a little better. As far as I'm aware nothing crazy has been going on in his life recently. Doesn't have a girlfriend, and yes he'd tell me, so no bad breakup or anything. Doesn't seem super depressed. Wife thinks it's sweet and says he might look like an adult but he's still a kid. Don't make a big deal out of it. I can't help but feel like this isn't typical teen boy behavior and it makes me think something is up. A few nights is okay, but I don't want this to become like an every night kinda thing. I'm not sure how long he will ask. Not sure what I should say or do. Any thoughts? Top comments. Commenter 1, sounds like he needs comfort and closeness and also is not ready to talk about why. I would enjoy this time to make him feel loved and protected. He really is still a kid. Commenter 2, he might not even really understand why. I have ADHD anxiety and sometimes need some human contact closeness truly without knowing why. Commenter 3, I hope you feel blessed that as close as he is to his man, body and persona society has been telling him to have, you're still his safest place. My golly, what a blessing indeed. Commenter 4, right, that's my first thought too. This kid is lucky to have a dad so great, that's honestly cool as hell. Likewise, enjoy this time with your son as best you can. Tomorrow he'll be hitting keg stands and throwing Raegers in another state at college. Someday you won't recognize the son you're spending a couple nights with, appreciate it. Update post. All, I appreciated your advice. I guess I haven't always been the best with affection. Honestly, it just felt a little awkward having another basically grown man pressed up against me, even if it was my own son. Thanks for encouraging me that it's okay and to support him. The third night he asked me to sleep with him again, so I did. We got in bed and he put his arm around me and snuggled up against me. I told him one of my favorite memories of him was him laying on my chest as a baby and toddler while I watched TV, and I was glad we got to do that again. He said, I miss being a kid sometimes. I said I did too. I said, how's life been going, bud? Anything I can do to make it better for you? He said, I don't know. I guess I've just been feeling kinda lonely recently. It was dark, but I think he started crying a little. I asked him if he knew why he felt this way. He said he didn't really have any friends, and I guess the people he thought were didn't really seem to like him anymore. We talked for a good while, but I won't share all the personal details. Then it was quiet for a while. Then he said he was sorry for being weird. That he'd be okay and I could go back to my bed. I told him it wasn't weird to want to be close to your dad and that I loved getting cuddles again. He held on to me tightly all night. I didn't sleep much, but it was worth it, I guess. The next day I did suggest maybe we could have sleepovers just on the weekend. He seemed cool with that. Figured I could get a break, but he'd still have something to look forward to. I feel so bad for the kid. I didn't grow up in a therapy kind of family, and I haven't talked to him about it yet, but I might see if he's open to it. He's just been really clingy, and I think if he can just get some of his confidence back, that will help him feel better and maybe make it easier to make friends. Top comment. Commenter, great parenting. He knows you're safe and loving, and that's a sign you're doing it right. Keep it up, and enjoy the extra cuddles.